All right, we'll go watch Brianna Wu on Adam and Sitch talking about this Sweet Baby Inc. stuff because it might be vaguely interesting. Who knows?
I think that these are the people that are injecting woke nonsense into AAA games.
There, you're burying the lead, Dev. Get to it. These are a bunch of woke SJWs. They're calling them out for corruption.
I'm not going to be sensationalistic. I'm going to tell you the whole story. Okay, so that's
we want the sensationalism. What are you talking about?
This is a TLDR. What are you talking about? Dev is like, but okay, well, let me tell you my backstory. I had sex with this girl at a conference one time.
I did not. Don't you dare make that the narrative. I swear to fucking God. Anyway, basically, fans are mad. They think that Sweet Baby Inc. is injecting woke nonsense into modern video games. There's probably some truth there. So this list goes viral of all the games that they've worked on. It turns into a big fucking shit show. And you have people attacking them, you have people trying to cancel them, you have fans like messaging Steam, don't take the list down, this is great. And like, battle lines are very clearly being drawn. The same people from GamerGate
so people like the list
later.
People like the list because they want to boycott those games. That's what's going on. Okay.
Yes.
And the people who like Sweet Baby want the list to come down, even though it's already on their website, because they don't want the games to be boycotted. They like this stuff being injected into games. Okay, so let's just let Dev respond, and then I'll let you go, Brianna.
I just have a clarifying question.
Okay.
Well, I have like one sentence left before I'm done. Basically, I think it's because it was made by someone who doesn't like Sweet Baby, and and the people who follow it don't like Sweet Baby. Like if this was a list of like Sweet Baby games, and it was made by a person who likes the company, and all the followers, people who like the company, it would be left alone, right? Okay. It's the fact that this is a list denigrating their work is why I think it's gone viral.
Okay, go ahead, Brianna.
I mean, if you are in the video game industry, criticism is what you sign up for. So that seems really odd to me. I guess this is what I don't understand. Dev, just so the audience knows, we're friends. Like, I'm asking us in good faith.
Sure.
The part of it is
about to stab you in the back.
No, this is nothing like
we're
that.
Friends, but Dev, you're obviously an alt-right racist.
This is part of it. I know y'all want us to fight, but this is a genuine question. So if I'm like, one of the games on this list is Alan Wake 2, which is a very, very, very long game. What I genuinely don't understand is like, there's this blanket claim that it's woke, right? That they're making the games woke. But I look at some of the games on the list that I've actually played, and it's really genuinely hard for me to think of any point of that I...
What? But she's so fucking disingenuous, because it's like, it's just a matter of, if people don't want to support this company's involvement because they've seen that it has had effect in some games, then it's okay for them to avoid all games that have involvement with that company because they want to starve them out. Well, she's so fucking dishonest. She can't
like that Call of Duty moment for Call of Duty Cold War, where it's like, are you male, female, or non-binary? And I'm like, I don't think we were talking about this in the 80s, right? Like, I could understand someone finding that to be a little pandering, but I can't think about anything like that from Alan Wake 2. So how did they attribute this quality of wokeness that they perceive? How did they directly attribute that to Sweet Baby? That's the part of it I don't understand.
Okay, so
they don't necessarily attribute every single injection of wokeness. Obviously, Remedy is some gay, posed-up, liberal, artsy company. They made Control. They've already had a female protagonist. It makes total sense that they would have these gay, liberal, artsy, fucking woke ideas in their games. That absolutely makes sense, right? Even though people are particularly mad about Remedy doing that shit. I'm sure there's some people, but generally, like, who's really that mad about that shit? It's about, like, when you've got like a Suicide Squad, right? That's what it's about.
It's the people who are working at Sweet Baby, because now that all the digs have happened into those people, we know their Twitters are online and their history, and they seem to be very far left, very progressive people. So that it seems to be the case that it's at least partially the people who are working for them. I can't speak to Alan Wake specifically because I haven't played Alan Wake 2 yet myself.
Oh, it's good.
I mean, I liked Alan Wake 1. No one else that I know liked it, but I liked it. I think it's, I'm just a fan of David Lynch, right? But I think when it comes to Alan Wake 2, it's because they're doing the thing where you have Alan Wake, the headline character, and then half the time you play as a black woman. Right? Now that in and of itself isn't bad, But we've seen so many examples of that in the past, say, 5 years, where it's just been a shit show. The one that comes off the top of my head right now
Just
is
fucking tired.
the
It's just
Obi-Wan
lame.
show,
Like,
right? Where half the
Right.
show
It's
was
so
about Reva, and
tired.
it was a terrible fucking show. So I think what's happening is, even if Alan Wake 2 is a good game, I don't know, I haven't played it. People are seeing a pattern here, where it's like old property with old beloved characters, but we're going to make you play as someone else that you don't care about for half the game. And people, I think, are just getting tired of that.
I could so look, I think most of us had played Alan Wake. I mean, I thought those parts really worked, especially because the gameplay was so different between those two characters and was such a core part of how that story.
Nah, I don't buy that they necessarily fucked with Alan Wake. Because Remedy it's like saying they fucked with The Last of Us. It's like, no, Neil Druckmann is just like a liberal cucked homosexual. Like, no, there's just there are just artsy liberal companies sometimes, dude. Like, that's just the way it is. Especially when it's some cinematic over-the-shoulder story game. Where it's about, you know, genre subversion. Like, is that half the point of Alan Wake? Isn't it playing with horror tropes and the idea of like what makes a horror story and all this shit? I've never played it. I'm just guessing based on the fact that you're a horror writer that gets stuck in his own story. I assume it's very meta and is trying to subvert concepts of the genre. So like this is the exact sort of game that I expect to have some gay, oh, well, you play as a black woman. You're not really the hero, white man. I expect that. That's expected. I don't know why anyone would not expect that from a company like that. First game may not have been like that, but we're not in that year anymore. Like the trends in artsy fucking communities and shit are different now, right? Now it is trendy to do this thing where you bring stuff back, but subvert it with having a minority character, right? That's trendy. That's in. Control was like that. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like I didn't play much of Control because I found it kind of fucking boring. But it's like that, yeah, this is what I expect from Remedy. I don't know why you would expect anything different. A lot of people are just like, oh no, I like these games, so it can't be cucked and gay. It can't be posed up because I like them. It's like, no, you can like stuff that's posed up and gay. But Alan Wake is pretty posed up and gay, let's be honest, and it always was. It was never not artsy.
Story was told. Let's flip it the other way around. Of all the games on the list that Sweet Baby worked on, what is the best example that you have of like pandering SJW, bad, you know, males are bad, all those kind of stereotypes? What's the best dirt that you've got going in the other direction?
One of them, I can give you two right off the top of my head.
Sure.
One of them is the Saints Row game. That was just a fucking
Okay.
dumpster fire.
Yeah,
Not only was the game's quality bad, just in terms of how it played.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched the interview that I did with the developer, right?
I did.
One of the developers.
Really interesting. Yeah.
And he was outlining like certain things were happening at the studio and certain things that you know they took certain things out of the game because of the BLM riots in 2020. The shoehorning in of like cringy millennial humor about student loans and shit. Like that game I think it's pretty obvious. The other one that I can think of is Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and it's because when Assassin's Creed Valhalla was marketed, they were trying to sell the main character of Valhalla as being the same as like a European refugee migrant situation, where it's like you have these Vikings who are coming to the UK back during the Viking days to try and start a new life, and they're being resisted. It's like they're fucking Vikings. They're here to like rape and plunder. That's what Vikings did. All right, so it's this recasting of what we know Vikings were in this very refugee positive light in the game. It's very strange.
That sounds fucking awesome, dude. That's so cool of Ubisoft.
So I will 100% grant you Saints Row. I myself, I've beaten Saints Row 3 probably 5 or 6 times. I love that game so much. I even like Saints Row 4. I've gotten through about an hour of Saints Row, the reboot, before I had to sit it down. How do you know though? Because these games are so large in scope and they have like internal writing teams. How do you attribute those aspects directly to Sweet Baby? That's the part of this that I don't understand.
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why even though I've talked a lot about this topic, you won't find me saying that. Some people have. Other
Sure.
people have that I've seen, and they say it pretty
You say?
I have like internal writing of Saints Row, the reboot before I had to sit it down. How do you know though? Because these games are so large in scope and they have like internal writing teams. How do you attribute those aspects directly to Sweet Baby? That's the part of this that I don't understand.
I don't.
Okay.
What a
Yeah,
retard. What a
that's why, even
stupid
though I've
fucking
talked a lot about
question.
this topic, you won't find me saying that. Some
Sure.
people have. Other
Sure.
people have that I've seen, and they say it pretty constantly, but I haven't said that yet.
Okay.
Well, no one
and it-
knows,
and it's-
right? Because they just consulted on games. We don't know. No one would be able to determine what exact part of the
They
game.
said they rewrote parts of it. Like she said
Sure.
that in
Mhm.
her interview.
Right, but I'm
So,
saying they
yeah.
wouldn't know. I mean, I don't believe anyone have the information to know like what exact parts and what games that they contributed to specifically.
So I mean, if it is the case that it happened the way that it happened with Saints Row, when I talked to that developer, he basically said that it wasn't like management in these companies. They were all, hyper woke and they were all very far left. They just wanted to make money. They were just very, very out of touch. And so someone recommended to them that, hey, being woke is in right now. How about you hire this consulting company and they'll help punch up your script? And the management was like, will that make us money?
right.
Will that make us money? And they're like, yeah, of course it will. So and that's what happened. And that if what happened with Saints Row is happening everywhere, which it might be, that probably seems like what's going on here. It's not like management is
I'm so shit
ideologically
at this game,
motivated
dude.
towards progressivism or something.
I'm not
It's
paying
it's
attention,
much
really,
more
but-
likely that they want money, they're out of touch, and they've basically been bamboozled.
Though, if you go on their Wikipedia page, it's funny. They show like the list of games they worked on, and then they say what their role was. And some of them, they say writing, script writing, full development characters. So maybe I could give it a little bit a greater sense. But some of them, their role was sensitivity reading, which I believe because I listened to a woman who was a co-founder of Sweet Baby Inc. That's where they like read over your script and they basically try to say like, well, we think that this thing will like trigger people or is not woke enough. That was my understanding of what a sensitivity reading was.
Yeah, so what I understand of it is basically like, let's say that you're writing a game and you're writing a black character for your
So is Brianna Wu actually be forced to grapple with any of this, or is she going to sit here fucking vacantly the whole time looking like a retard?
game, and you
Right.
have no one who's black on staff. You're going to go hire a company like this to get like a black perspective and be like, hey, is this how a black person would react in this situation? Which is kind of racist. But I mean, if you, because like, I mean, black people aren't somehow
Black
fundamentally
people
different from white
only
people,
react
right?
one way in every situation. So
Yeah.
obviously,
Right. But also, like, if there
question,
if there
shouldn't
actually
bring it
is
to
something about racism in the story, you might want to get that perspective. Like that's fair
Oh my
enough,
God,
right?
fuck
But
retard.
that's how they pitch it.
It's a retard.
But it does seem like it's probably going farther than that.
can we get like
So-
little seal microaggression free is on each package?
So let me give an example. Do y'all remember the
I'm so glad
Bethesda game
Adam's
that
on the
came
show.
out? I think it was like 8 years ago. What was it? Pillars of Eternity, and they had a trans character in there, and you're just like talking to this trans NPC, and they just start blurting out how they're trans, right? And it's just completely so trans Twitter thought so. More right-wing Twitter thought so. It was just poorly done. I think, and I'm not trying to like belittle the concerns here because I think they're fair if, because Saints Row was really that bad, genuinely. But like, I'm not like philosophically, I can't object to bringing in people to say, this is how this person might speak here, or this feels authentic. I mean, the video game industry, I know for a fact, contracts military people all the time to get those details right. I know they contract people for major racing franchises that are actual racers, right, to get that right. Or games like the Underground series to kind of get that more urban feeling. It seems to me if you're trying to write certain characters, it can be done.
You need to just hire Sweet Baby Inc. to really know how to capture that exaggerated swagger. That's the thing that people need to realize is that you need this retarded company full of annoying white women to tell you how to properly capture the essence of blackness. A bunch of college-educated white women who did gender studies to tell you how to write black people. Sick.
Done well, or it can be done badly. I think both of us would agree, but I don't
famously
like,
empathetic towards
automatically
blacks.
object to bringing in someone to like give it a pass, right? Or do y'all disagree?
No, I don't disagree. it is one of those things where it's probably a useful tool in an appropriate situation. It just seems like it's being used excessively inappropriately.
I'm not playing
and
it
has
for
been
it's
for
the
a while.
cat shit.
Sure.
So, Soldoge wanted me to bring
I
up,
don't even know. I
and
don't
was
know
going
what
to
the
bring
rules in that are.
You
I
left
don't
out
think
a
it's
very
copyrighted.
important part of the story, Dev. How dare you? When you
What did I
talked
leave
about
out?
it. So this was my understanding, was that the way that the whole the Sweet Baby Inc. stuff kind of exploded in the first place was and part of why people were calling it Gamergate 2.0 was that it was a Streisand effect. That essentially the person made this list where they were saying like, oh, these are the Sweet Baby games, don't buy them.
Be playing movie
and then
CDs out here
someone
and
who
shit.
worked at Sweet Baby Inc.
Okay.
like called like a lot of attention to it on Twitter and said like, hey, we should get this, list taken down, and we should get the person who made this list, we should get their Steam account like canceled, essentially.
Yeah, I don't know how you're going to stop companies from using consulting firms. It's not about stopping them from doing it. The point is that there's a lot of controversy right now over a Steam curator list that lists all the companies, all the games that use this consulting company, so that people can not purchase them, so that it becomes less profitable for them to use this consulting company. That's you don't stop them, you disincentivize it by not giving them your money, right? That's the idea.
And that is like the fact that they brought all that like negative attention to the list is what got everyone talking about it in the first place. Like no one would have noticed this otherwise, probably.
So there, like, if you hung out and let's say like
some people boycotting, I think, but I don't think it's a
the nerdrotic side.
People, there's a curator list that exists, so that if people look at buying a game, they can check it, and if it's on there, they can make a decision about it individually. So boycott those always work. Yet no one's saying that it's going to change everything. I think if they are, they're retarded. I don't know why you're engaging like a fucking idiot here. It's just if you don't want to buy a game that uses this company, you now have a tool to do so, and that's where the controversies come from. You're clear you don't understand the story, and you're coming in midway and just saying retarded shit.
Of the internet, there's definitely been people making videos about Sweet Baby Inc. for like 3 months now. This is not a new topic to those people, but yeah, the reason that it showed up among your average Twitter user is because a person employed with them named Chris Kindred started a thread trying to basically a call to action saying, let's destroy this guy, let's take his list down, and also let's get his Steam account banned. And that's what makes
cancel culture.
Here, I wonder if I can find it for you. Give me 30 seconds. I'll find it.
Okay, well, I just want to say on record, I disavow that. I think if you're a video game producer, criticism of your work is completely legitimate. And, it's not like we have not, on the left have not, said things like, oh, this person has said this problematic thing. J.K. Rowling with Harry Potter. It's not like we didn't say, like, she said some problematic things. I think you should know about this before buying this game. I mean, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So I don't know. I think that it frankly strikes me as unprofessional if that's true.
Brianna, is it fair to call you red-pilled now?
No. Do I come off as red-pilled? No.
A little bit. I mean, I see your Twitter and like you're basically going after all these far left activists
I'm really
and stuff.
pissed off at the far left. I'm really angry at them.
Look, well, I mean, how far can you
I'm so angry at the far left.
I'm sure
they
people on the left are
absolutely.
calling you red.
Adam is chasing.
They
right
can
now.
say
This is wretched.
Yeah, I can call me Nazi today.
Isn't this SFO's job?
They're calling you a Nazi for the same reason that they called me a Nazi in 2014.
Right.
Because I have the same criticisms. I'm not against normal like Democrat positions, but I don't like the far left at all. I think they're probably one of the worst things to ever happen to our fucking civilization is the far left.
Yeah, they are out today. They just finally opened a Holocaust museum in Amsterdam, and you've got a bunch of these nut jobs are out there standing on cars and screaming. It's like, can you just show like the littlest bit of adult judgment here? Just this much. It's insane. And no, I don't support that. I think it's really, I don't think it's helpful for anything. But that doesn't make me not a leftist, or at least not progressive.
Well, leftist usually means communist, and I don't think like you're a capitalist. No. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm a Democrat that wants universal health care. I mean, Dev, I think you want universal health care, if I'm correct.
Well, I've already got it, but it's going kind of bad in Canada. I've already got it.
Sure.
So Sitch, I sent you in the Discord.
Are we gonna watch the clip that we were gonna do?
Hold on.
Let's do it.
We should look at these two screencasts before we watch the clip. Because
I sent you Dr. Diller sent me the screenshot that you're looking for, Dev, but like his one screenshot, and I sent it to him.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'll bring him up.
So obviously no one here supports, like if someone wants to start a
Bye,
campaign,
Brianna.
say, hey,
bye.
bye. games that are associated with this company because I believe this company has political leanings that I disagree with. I mean, as you said, Brie, that's kind of, that's what the left has been doing for a very long time now. It seems like, the J.K. Rowling and everything stuff. So it should be totally fine for someone who's more right-leaning or centrist-leaning to do this activity.
Yep.
And this person that works at the company tries to get them banned. This draws a lot of negative attention. The story blows up, kind of goes a little bit more mainstream. And now, interestingly, we do see, as you were talking about, Dev, there are Kotaku and other gaming journalist outlets that seem to be defending Sweet Baby Inc., which is weird, right? Like no one, like this, it definitely seems to be that this is really another culture war issue that, like, because Sweet Baby Inc. is perceived as being left-wing by their own words, that's why the video game journalist outlets are defending them. Like, they wouldn't be defending, they were not defending J.K. Rowling.
Well, it's also because they're friends with these people, right?
Right.
I mean, I literally said it's the same people, right? So, like, Nathan Grayson was a core part of the original GamerGate. He's come out and talked about this, and he's published an article, all right? It's the same fucking people. It's the same people as 10 years ago. They've stuck around for 10 years doing all this shit. So, like, it feels like GamerGate.
Brianna, yes,
because
Brianna.
the energy in the community is the same as it was 10 years ago.
Right.
Everyone's digging up information. Everyone's looking into people's past. Everyone's got connections. On the people on the side of the conversation where people are actually interested in the issue and not simply just there to troll or shitpost, it feels the same. It feels the same as it did 10 years ago.
Well, so here's the tweet. This is from Chris
Doesn't
Kindred.
it,
It says,
Brianna?
the Steam creator harassment
Doesn't
group
it?
Sweet Baby Inc. Detected is led by this person.
Ugh.
Look at the person's Twitter handle. Here's them trying to be slick so they don't get reported, even with the discriminatory language filed off. The group itself still fails the code of conduct. So I guess they're assuming that the person is a bigot or something, even though like there wasn't any bigotry language in the Steam group. And it says, anyway, report the fuck out of this group. And then under that says, and report the creator since he loves his account so much. So they're saying, like, look how much time and games he has on Steam. Try to get him banned from Steam, right? So not good. Not good.
And then this person got, well, the thing is progressives they just aren't as institutionally powerful as they were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So this guy got like completely fucking destroyed on the internet. The same usual suspects are kind of coming to help out, but like this is not, if this really was Gamergate 2, it is not going well for the anti-Gamergate crowd this time, because people have had 10 years to be angry about this shit, and they have way less people on their side this time around.
Well, and also this Chris person who I
Trump
guess just
is
likes
going
to
to tweet
on the regular
Gamergate
and
2,
again,
guys.
I believe they got temporarily
Holy
banned from
fuck.
Twitter for this because it was accused
Short
of
Fat Otaku's
trying to do a
fucking
pylon
done
or
it.
something. And when they came back to Twitter, one of their first posts was about, if you guys know this recently, Akira Toriyama, the legend who is the creator of Dragon Ball Z and other things, died very recently.
Oh my god, Poggies.
And as soon as this person came back on Twitter, they basically tweeted an insult towards Akira Toriyama, saying that Toriyama gave us the best and worst black characters in anime in the same series. It took range to do
true?
that. So,
yeah,
kind of a master.
Wait, but what's wrong with that? Where's the lie, though? No? Didn't he do like a little cartoon, some fat black-lipped black guy, and then he did Mr. Popo, but then he did Piccolo? Like, where's the lie?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that right now.
Right. So
I've never been a big fan of his woman characters, so I wouldn't say that like right after he died.
Right after so there you go.
So yeah, there's this person, and then also the thread from
Mr.
Felix
Popo is
Kramer
black.
was the second part of why this went viral, because they also
Keep
hopped on
open.
board and they have a full Gamergate history that I did. Like I did an expose on this person 10 years ago, right? And the shit they were getting up to then, and it's the same shit as they're doing now. So
And is Felix Kramer associated with Sweet Baby, or they like what was their?
they work for Sweet Baby. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no one's really. Yeah, okay.
So here, I will actually TLDR it for you, okay? Since we don't want to rehash 10-year-old drama constantly. They've already done it like twice this past week. Felix Kramer, 10 years ago, was Maya Kramer, was one of the people who had sex with Zoe Quinn behind Aaron's back. Worked for.
Is it
another
alleged or
consulting company.
confirmed?
Confirmed
Let's
by
go.
Aaron, but it was just his word.
Okay.
She worked for another consulting company just like this called Silverstring Media, but they only work on indie games. So same job, just smaller scale. And she did consulting for Zoe. She did consulting for all the articles reporting about Zoe during Gamergate. And also the games that she worked on through Silverstring Media were winning awards at the Indie Game Fest while she was having sex with the person at the head of the Indie Game Fest. And that was a big deal during Gamergate. That was one of the videos that I published.
Interesting.
I lay it all out in the video, but that's the TLDR. It's 10-year-old drama. Like, it's whatever, But
Sure,
still.
sure. So I guess, so do you have a take on any of this, Brie, like the Sweet Baby stuff, or even the older stuff that Deb was talking about?
Well,
Do you have a take on this,
look,
Bree?
it's really hard because I don't want to drive more
Bree?
harassment towards Felix, but
Oh, yeah,
I
we
would
still
say
want the
I'm not
harassment.
surprised he is.
So it's all these silly harassment brigades. All these silly harassment brigades. That's the problem here. That's the real issue. Not the horrific, like, brigading from the other side. Or the, like, crying about just a Steam curator list that allows people to make more informed decisions about their purchases. No, that's not the problem. That's not. It's all this harassment. It's this harassment mob again. Are they going to let us say this? Are they going to let her get away with this? This is just so wretched, man. It's like they're trying to go, come on, Brianna, come on, Brianna. Say the base thing, Brianna. Come on, be based, Brianna. Be the base trans for us. And she's just like, no. The whole time. And they're just still holding out hope. It's so gross.
They're in the middle of the same kind of scandal. I think that's what I would say.
What does that mean? You know some tea? It sounds like you know some.
I can be less professional if you want.
Sure, please go ahead, Dev. You do your thing.
The one time that I crossed paths with this person, they were very, very cliquey. It was very much like a indie game development.
Oh
is
wait,
our
was she
scene
talking shit on this person?
and
Look, it's really hard because I don't want to drive more harassment towards Felix, but I would say I'm not surprised he is kind of in the middle of the same kind of scandal. I think that's what I would say.
What does that mean? You know some tea? It sounds like you know some.
I can be less professional if you want.
Sure, please.
I think
go
that's
ahead.
a
The one time that I crossed
stones in glass houses moment there.
paths with this person, they were very, very cliquey. It was very much like a indie game development is our scene and you're not in it, you know? And if you weren't, if you didn't have the right friends, they would just look right down their nose at you.
Yeah.
And that's the experience I had with them when I met them the one time.
So let's jump back a little bit to what you were talking about, Dev, about progressives having less political power today. Because I do think
On the
this is
internet,
linked- well, I think overall, I think you can look at what's happening after October 7th, even in the real world, with actual Congress people. I think there's some people, they're progressive in Congress, that are going to lose their elections by large margins.
Okay,
this
we
time
can't
around.
have T-slurs, no
but I would
T-slurs,
say,
guys.
how can
Tut
give me
tut,
just a minute
I
to say this,
disavow.
right?
Very bad.
It is true that if you want to work at IGN or Polygon or one of the major game studios, statistically, you have less of a chance of making it into a paid position doing that than making the NFL draft, right? There are just very few positions to do this. There are a lot of people that want to do it. And as a result of that, it is a very cliquey, insulated group of people. And I think what you described with Felix and your experience with him, that is certainly a trend I've seen with a lot of indie game developers. And I think one of the things that has happened is I look around at some of the people I knew 10 years ago, and it's really surprising to me how little growth they've had, right? Or their ability to see things at a deeper level and comment on it publicly. I think a lot of what some of the people they're upset about right now are talking about, I think there's a kernel of truth in it, because I do think at a certain level, games press does have contempt for the gaming audience. And I think at a certain level, the indie game people can be extremely cliquish and hostile to people. So I think that's what some people are responding to.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah.
So hey, should we watch this clip?
Yeah, let's
Is it
watch
time?
it.
Sure.
That was a TLDR.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did say that, right? That this Felix guy was one of the guys that fucked Zoe Quinn, right?
The 45-minute TLDR.
Well,
I think it's
I'll
what
give you
said.
the context of this clip, okay? So
No,
this is from,
please stop. Let's just watch
don't worry,
the
it'll be
clip.
fine. It's from GDC 2019. This is the co-founder of Sweet Baby Inc. Okay?
Yes. This was like a little clip from a talk they gave that went viral. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Ready to
give
go?
it on. Yeah. Are you
Let's
ready?
do it.
Bree? Okay.
I'm looking.
And if you have a team lead, put that request to them very, very early. If you're a creative working in AAA, which I did for many, many years, put this stuff up to your higher ups. And if they don't see the value in what you're asking for when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research, go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want. Because they have to consider, I say that out loud as a joke, but it's actually very, very true, because if you start to consider the people who are player and audience facing and who have to deal with mitigating harm and with keeping the sentiment around their game and their project positive, there's a genuine value that you can press upon them with both ethically and financially. You can say this is important. And it's also a valid discussion to have, because if you're working with a very thin narrative budget and you work in AAA, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised or dismayed by the amount of money that marketing can give you.
That's already good there, yeah.
Right. So what she's saying is that, she's saying if you work at a game company and they don't want to give you money to hire someone like Sweet Baby Inc. to sort of look over your stuff to make sure it's not offensive or make sure it has the correct, woke politics injected into it or whatever you want to call it, to kind of, make this sort of thread about how, I don't know, the game's not going to do well, people don't even matter, or whatever it is. So a lot of people very much did not like that she was saying this, which I understand.
Yeah. So the clipped version that went viral on Twitter just sounded like she was threatening. She's like, listen, you should go, if you're someone who's progressive working in a big studio, go and threaten your company if they won't hire us. And that's how the clip version sounded. And to be honest, the full version sounds a little bit better, but not much, to be honest. Because it still kind of sounds like she's saying, hey, there's going to be a viral shit show surrounding your game if you don't get the progressive conversation correct. So you should hire us and go tell people at the company that they should put some money towards us. And it seems very self-serving because look at her company, right?
Of course.
It is. This is the best good faith argument I can give the other side, though, because I did watch the whole 2-hour video you did with Sidewinders, right? And I'm not saying you did this, but some of the
Side scroller. Sidewinders was that. Sidewinders was that one controller made by Logitech back in the 2000s.
Apologies. Yes, think about missile technology.
With side scrollers, I feel like I've heard of this before. Who are these people?
Do you think we'll ever get back to a point to where?
Oh, this is the old Screw Tech guy. Oh, okay. Yeah.
But, there was very much an undercurrent of they just don't respect us enough as gamers. They hate us. They have contempt for us. There's very much that undercurrent. And if they don't respect us, we are going to let them know about that. I guess I don't understand why her saying that gamers could watch this, they feel that their identity is not respected, and they could have some aggressive feedback that could hurt your game. I don't understand how that's any different than what they were saying with side scrollers, which is, if you don't respect us, we're going to make your lives hell. Like it just seems like two competing groups with different visions trying to advocate for what they want.
I'm not sure anyone on side scrollers said that. They just said we're not going to buy your games, right?
Right. Right.
Like I don't think anyone on side scrollers. I mean, I'm pretty sure I can speak for Craig when I'm going to say he's not pro harassing people or anything like that.
Oh gosh, no. I'm not saying pro harassment. I'm saying, don't you think there's a contingent out there that wants a certain kind of representation the other way, like from the conservative camp, right? And they're going to get upset if they don't get it. So to me, it just seems like different groups here advocating.
I think I can represent this in memes, right?
Sure.
Because 15 years ago, the meme that you saw posted on
Please
4chan's
don't.
board all the time was that every game had a white male protagonist with a shaved head, right? And now every game has a black woman with like half of her head shaved. You know what I mean? and that's the meme.
See,
and
1, 2.
yeah, there's so many of them.
Okay,
Right?
yeah.
And so I mean, very clearly there's space in the gaming industry for both of these things.
Sure.
Right? I think so. I brought up two examples. I think it was actually on side scrollers. One of them was the tabletop game Thirsty Sword Lesbians. The other one was the TV show High Guardian Spice. Both of these were awful, and they were very progressive, just very bad products, and they're very clearly pushing a progressive message. But because they didn't come in and take over a different property, they simply made their own. Yeah, like there were like nerd-erotic types who made fun of them. It's like, well, whatever. But most people just left them alone, right? I think the issue is that it's not just that they're making progressive stuff with representation, it's that they're coming into pre-established properties that people already love and already have this connection to, and that they've grown up with, and they feel very strongly about. And they're saying, by the way, we're changing all of it now. Now it's about this character you don't like and you don't care about. And we're also going to put politics in it. And now you have to watch it and be a fan of it like you were the fan of the old stuff, or else you're a bigot. I think that's what's happening, really. If progressives just made all their own shit and just marketed to their own crowd, I think it would be fine.
Well, I think that's like a big part of it, Dev, and I think there's another big part of it, which is like, yeah, you can look at it like there's two different interest groups, there's two different groups of people that they want what they want. They have different ideas about how something should look. But the question is, what is it like? What is their idea of what things should look like? And the problem is, like from the leftist perspective or the sweet baby perspective, the woke perspective, whatever word we want to use to describe this, it's not just like even replacing a character with someone who's a woman or someone who's a minority or something. It's also, it seems like either for some reason that they have to inject politics that's also related to that, or they just really suck at writing. So it all seems to be kind of tied together, because when you have sort of a quote race swap, like I even did a whole video about this, which was Into the Spider-Verse was basically universally loved by everyone, even a lot of people that'd be considered anti-woke. And there was some, but there wasn't really a lot of complaints about people going, oh, Into Spider-Verse, they replaced Peter Parker with like a black, kid. Oh my God, how could they do this? Everyone liked it because it was just very well.
Okay, but on God, it is just like mad retarded that Miles Morales is just like is just black Peter Parker. He has like no distinguishing character traits, and they just have to give him a bunch of fucking electric powers to make him seem cool. It's fucking like so lazy. It is just some of the laziest shit in the world. I'm just saying. And the lightning sword shit as well. I assume people have seen that, right?
And it didn't feel political, and it felt kind of more in line with, classic 90s liberalism. Like the fact that Miles was black didn't really have much to do, there's only a subtle scene that has really anything to do with that. It doesn't really have anything to do with the story. There wasn't really like woke leftist politics injected into the Spider-Verse whatsoever. So it seems to me like that's like another big part of all this is the injection of the leftist politics into stuff.
What's really interesting is you can now compare that to Spider-Man 2. Because it still has a black Spider-Man, you have Miles Morales, and it's been received the complete other way. Because that game took a lot of effort just to come out and say, no, this is the Spider-Man now. Peter Parker's no longer Spider-Man, it's Miles Morales. He's the main character, he's the guy. And people are like, what the fuck? Like, this is what we signed up for. Like, we want to see Peter Parker. You know what I mean? It's the fact that it's like it's a form of narrative replacism almost, where they're not simply just coexisting with other characters, they're replacing the character that you actually like.
Sure, and I think that's another. So you go, Brie.
No, I was just gonna say, I really think that's true. This is, and just stay with me on this metaphor here, but there's a quality of the left that, for me as a political professional, I've run into a lot, where the left enjoys making the most extreme thing possible, the most extreme statement possible, and daring you to disagree with it, even when it's poorly framed. I'll give you an example. Defund the police is a really good example of it. It tests extremely poorly. It's an election losing machine. And if you're saying this on Twitter, there's a certain aspect to the left that's just like daring you to disagree. Or even today, where they're showing up the Free Palestine people and protesting.
I look at this shit. This isn't fucking Spider-Man. Come on now. Come on now. Be serious. This is cool. It's cool on its own. It ain't fucking Spider-Man. It ain't Spider-Man. Why Spider-Man got a sword? Because they just have to... Because they've got no other way of making Miles Morales cool. Then yeah, literally jumping the shark. Distinguishing him from Peter Parker in any way. Like, why did they just make him another... Like, why did they make him a smart black kid, That's one thing I get. Why is the new Spider-Man also, like, the nerdy guy who makes his own gadgets and... He has like this best friend character. He tends to have a best friend character that like turns evil, and then like he has his girlfriend from high school. Like it's the exact same setup. It's the exact same setup. Iron Spider in the movies does suck. From what I've seen of it in the comics, it's fine because it's just like when he's working with Iron Man. But it became like his main suit basically in the movies. That was fucking gay. It's fine to have as like a gimmick thing that he gets when he teams up with Iron Man or teams up with the Avengers, you know. But having it be like his main suit, having it just be his thing is like so gay. But this shit ain't Spider-Man. You didn't see. Listen, lightning swords and shit. This is jumping the shark so hard. This is so desperate.
At a Holocaust museum, there's an aspect of that that's like, how dare you even bring this up? Because what we're doing is so noble, you know.
Yeah. Also, having the like team up between Miles and Peter be like a permanent thing is also like kind of gay.
How don't you?
Like they're two similar characters to be interesting to have as permanent like co-stars.
Dare like call us on that. What I'm seeing creatively sometimes behind the scenes, and I, to be clear, I used to be guilty of this before. You know, I have more experience to kind of give me a wider perspective. It's like the first thing is you're trying to make a political point. The story itself is the politics, and I've come to the conclusion that very rarely actually makes good entertainment, which is why I think progressive narratives in games did not succeed in the marketplace ultimately. So you know, there was when Bob Iger came back to Disney a few months ago. You know, he got asked about some of the overt politics that Disney movies had been putting into you know, the recent films, and he was like, he gave a really reasonable answer. He's like, look, everybody's got to come see our movies. I want everyone to feel comfortable, right? And that's going to mean we're not going to shy away from some messages, but we've got to do it in a way that doesn't you know, overshadow the story itself. I think that's exactly the right way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I think I agree with everything you're saying because I think it's a combination of the desire to have to push a political message into something where maybe a political message doesn't need to exist.
Yeah.
Or when, like, you know, even if you look at the like first gen Marvel movies, you know, there are political messages there, but they're very like.
Oh, in Spider-Man 2, they put Miles black and nappy hair on his suit for some reason. Yeah, I saw the new Miles suit where he says, "This I thought it was time for a Miles Morales original." It's like, what was your other suit then, dude?
You know, broad, all-encompassing. You know, like liberalism is good, freedom is good. You know, nothing that most people.
Oh man,
people, except the most extreme people, are gonna get mad at. Where the more hyper progressive message is far more incendiary to half the country, 70% of the country than these other messages. And then I think also baked into it, which I don't even know if it's progressive. I think I would just call it leftist. I think a lot of the sort of leftist ideology, I just don't think can actually construct very good storytelling at all, because it seems like there is some idea that's anti like the hero's journey. And I don't know if it's just because, you know, an old white man wrote down the concept of the hero's journey.
Well, I think what it is in that case. I think in that case, it's because the hero's journey requires the hero to fail for a while, and you can't have a girl boss fail.
Yeah, I think that's another aspect of it too, because it's weird. Like, you know, you look at like the original Captain Marvel and even, you know, the new Star Wars movies and things of that nature. It's like, you know, when you look at older movies that featured female protagonists, you know, Kill Bill is one of my favorite. You know, the Alien movies, things of that nature. You know, first Terminators. It's like, yeah, they had a female protagonist, but she kind of went through the same arc that you'd expect any male protagonist to go through. And it feels like now with the modern female protagonist, they're not allowed to do that for whatever reason, which does seem to be.
Give an example of that.
Oh, Raven Star Wars.
Well, yeah,
yeah, literally the easiest one.
Marvel, yep, those are the big ones.
Because it seems like, no, I don't. It's interesting.
The Ghostbusters from the Ghostbusters 2016 movie.
That's another good example.
Yeah,
I think
this
it's interesting with the Disney stuff. It's like this weird
dumb.
conflation of the ideology for the reason that you were saying, Dev,
So,
but
not
also
dumb,
maybe because they're all
dishonest,
trying to
a liar,
make another Elsa character.
snake, a
The same thing in the
reptile.
remake of Mulan, which is really weird because like in the original Mulan, you know, obviously it's about her struggling to, you know, be in the army and then succeeding eventually. And this one, it's all about like she has to find, you know, you just have to let go, girls. You have to like let go your inner emotions. And that was kind of like so. It all seems like it's trying to do this Elsa thing again. So it's very strange. I think that is also what's hurting this, you know, the leftist kind of narrative and storytelling.
So, I linked an image and it just says, all games are political, says the extremely smart individual who can't tell the difference between Metal Gear Solid, Bioshock, and this picture. And the picture is like Trump on Family Guy. That's a meme that's been around for a long time.
Just
and
asking questions,
right? Is the excuse that I see from a lot of left-leaning people about putting this stuff in games is like, well, everything's political. Art is political. It has a message, right? And it's like, well, yeah, but you're not having a political discussion. You're just preaching with your art.
Well,
that's what's happening here.
Is Step Brothers a political movie? I'm not sure it is. I'm really not
Everything's
sure
political,
about that.
Adam. Everything's
Come on,
political.
really? The other guys? Well, I guess the other guys is a little political actually.
There's something about this concept when people generally like on the far left talk about everything is political and always has been.
Dude, Adam is so
There's
retarded.
something that's missing there. And I understand why it's missing because it'd be hard to articulate, which is that when people are in a more stable.
It's like you can engage. Surely you can engage with that statement at a slightly better level than that, because that is like dishonest engagement. But I don't even know if it is dishonest. I think Adam might actually be that stupid. But the point is that obviously the point of that statement is not necessarily everything has an explicit political message. It's that everything is made within a political context and has influence and expression of that within it. Right? That's the statement that's being made. You can probably engage with that on a more honest, on a real level. But I mean, I don't know that Adam can, like I say, so it could just be that he is that stupid. But I feel like the others will. Like, I feel like Dev and Sitch are above that. Well, is Snap Brothers political? That kind of retarded question.
Environments where things seem to be more like comfortable, or at least everyone has kind of a joint sense of community. It's easier for people to make critiques or criticize things without feeling like they're personally under attack. So an example of this is, one of the most famous games of all time, Final Fantasy VII, has a lot of like anti-capitalist, like very, very pro-environmentalist messages. I mean, the heroes of the game are literally terrorists who are blowing up, energy reactors for environmental causes. And if Final Fantasy VII came out today, everyone was like, oh my God, it's super woke. But no one really thought that back then because there wasn't this sense, this feeling that, oh my God, there's all this like hyper leftist stuff that's attacking me as an individual, attacking our country, and demanding that we all adhere to some set of values. And because that environment didn't exist, it's like, oh, it's more okay, and people even love for you to have artwork, media, games that explore these narratives and have these political concepts.
I hear you. I do remember thinking like it really, like Final Fantasy VII poured on pretty thick back in the day. But I think you're close to it. I don't think it's quite it. I think the difference is almost if you're writing and creating things defensively. And let me give you a really specific example. Did anyone else here play Boyfriend Dungeon? Do you know this game?
Nope,
No.
sorry.
Okay, so it's a roguelike indie
I was
game.
joking about playing the dating sim.
Okay, fair enough. It's a
Jesus.
roguelike. There's a dating sim element to it. So you boot this game up, and just to be clear, please be nice to this woman. She's always been lovely to me on Twitter. I'm happy she got her game developed and was on Game Pass. I wish her all the success in the world. I'm telling you how I interpreted her work of art. So you boot it up, and it goes, hey, just letting you know, this game has some themes with abuse. Is it okay if we show that to you? And I'm like, yeah, okay. Hey, how do you identify? Are you a man? Are you a woman? Are you non-binary? I'm like, okay, woman, click.
That's
Oh,
epic.
hey, are you aromantic? Do you want to get these romance scenes in this game about romance? Is that
Right.
going to trigger you? Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I'm here for the board. Let's go. And yeah, you play it. It's a great game.
Yeah,
But then after all of this, like, so
That's
so the first thing is, as I was playing it, because it was written from this like position of, I think it's fair to say, fear. Like, you don't want to upset the audience. Like, every single character in that game is like it was designed by the leftist high committee to make sure perfectly you've got different body sizes, different races. It felt extremely checklisty, right? And then as soon as she did all of that, I forget what the scandal was. It was like there was some theme of abuse or not asking for consent about something, or your mom insulting you or being harsh to you, that upset some people on Twitter. And she ended up like in this apology arc for a way. So you take that and you compare it with what I consider to be the greatest work of art to come out in my lifetime, which is the Expanse novels. And this is written by James S. A. Corey, a team of two writers, Daniel Abraham and Ty, and they are ultra libs, right? And they're writing stories about life and death, and it is a metaphor for the Palestinians and Israel and war and peace and colonialism, and it is just fantastic. It's got that leftist message, but you're not sitting there with like the impression that James S. A. Corey is trying to appeal to an audience. He has something to say about the cycle of violence and our willingness to destroy each other and throw our ideals out the window. And that's why it's so powerful. So I think if someone is telling a story and it feels very genuine, I think that's art. I think people have a right to tell those stories, and you as a consumer can make a choice not to buy it. Where the reason I think progressives have largely failed in the gaming marketplace is because we're not telling stories that feel genuine to people.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And it's it's interesting because I was actually just arguing with some idiot on Twitter today about BioShock Infinite, which is also about the cycle of violence, and how if that game came out recently, in a post-Floyd environment, it's you have a game where basically the first half of it you're killing and fighting white supremacists who have basically.
Oh, dude, doesn't BioShock Infinite have that bit at like the beginning where it's like the morality choice, and it's basically just, do you throw shit at the black people? Wasn't that a thing? Yeah.
enslaved.
That's so
black
cool, man.
not enslaved, but subjugated a black population. And then in the second half of the game, the black population becomes part of a violent revolutionary communist group, which you have to fight against and kill, essentially. And the whole thing is kind of about this cycle of continual violence as opposed to trying to find a way productive forward. And I'm just trying to imagine if this game came out today or in the last couple of years, especially around the BLM times, people would have just lost their mind about how disgusting it was to look into those ideas, to look into that.
I don't know. Is BioShock Infinite woke? I feel like it's isn't the guy made. It wouldn't be considered that, I don't think. Isn't that guy, isn't he a massive libertarian? What's his name? I can't remember the guy's name who runs that studio.
Philosophical ideas. And even with Final Fantasy VII, I should add to that, is that a lot of these games, and I mean, I haven't read The Expanse, but I'm guessing like a lot of these very famous works of fiction that have politics and philosophy in them, generally the ones that are kind of very popular nowadays, or still popular, they were usually advocating for something that would align with like a broad liberal, I mean liberal like liberalism consensus of like what is just and what is morally right. Where a lot of this sort of more hyper progressive stuff today is significantly more divisive than any of those philosophical concepts that we think of.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I do want to say Ken Levine took plenty of S for Bioshock Infinite back in the day. He followed me on Twitter recently. I was like, oh, I guess he's forgiven me.
Ken
for
Levine, that's his name.
Oh no, did you say me stuff about him?
I did. You know,
no, why?
Destiny was talking about this the other day. And
Yes.
Dev, you had noted on Side Scrollers how I'd changed. And Destiny said something the other day that I thought really spoke to what happened to me. And it's like, we get really deep into an ideology. You're expected to take on all these constellation beliefs. So you're part of the in-group. And maybe you join because you really, really agree on this one thing. But then to be in the group, you've got to agree on all these things all around, right? And you may not even check to see if it's true. That very much happened to me. And I think it's a very radicalizing force on both sides.
You know what this feels like? You know what this reminds me of? It's the see again, a second time tonight that I'm referencing the South Park movie. It's the scene from South Park where Saddam Hussein is breakdancing on the floor saying he can change to stay in a relationship with Satan. That's what it is. That's what I'm watching right now. It's horrific to watch. It's terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nature and the danger of tribalism is it sucks you into that exact process. Like, oh, well, you know, you support, like, that's how it all works. You believe in this one thing. So you have all these other people believe in that one thing. They're like, hey, if you want to be part of us, here's like the checklist of all the other things you have to support. And it's like very easy to just, like, I don't think for most people it's like a conscious process. It's like, oh, well, I'm going to sell out to like believe it's like, oh, well, you know, these are good people. So they're probably right about all this other stuff. And then, you know, you get sucked in.
Dev, you should do a video about that called Purity Spiral. I think that would be very good.
I think I've done 2 of those actually.
They're both great. I love them. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
So how did you?
Yeah, well, I guess real quick, like, no offense, I do recall, like, I think back to how you were in 2014. I didn't like you at all, right?
Yeah, I'm sure I didn't like you either.
It was one of those situations like, oh Jesus. But it's like, okay, when I was on, so for those of you who don't know, since it's been brought up twice, I'll quickly explain it. I was on Side Scrollers, that's Stuttering Craig's podcast. He brought it back from the 2000s, the Screw Attack guy, and he was not around during GamerGate. So he was like, fill me in. I'm like, okay. Took me 2 hours to give him like a high view of what GamerGate was, because there's a lot to it. And I made it very clear, like, this is from the pro GamerGate point of view. So you probably want to get the same kind of rundown from someone who is anti GamerGate as well. This is how it was from my side. This is what dig operations we did. This is people we were looking at. This is why we looked at them. And when it came to the harassment part of the conversation, I know that you watched it, Brianna. I got pushback for saying that there was even any harassment at all.
Yeah.
But there was. I mean, there's always harassment on the internet. All right. And to be clear, like there's 2 things when we say harassment, right? There's you know, quote unquote harassment, which is criticism or mean words or being called names, right? And there's definitely people in GamerGate who got harassed, and that's all it was, right? And then there's real harassment, and the real harassment is being doxxed. It's death threats. It's things like that. And those happen too, right? It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows during GamerGate. You know what I mean? There are people out there who were actually interested in the real issues. And all of us, by the way, we said don't harass people constantly. I said it on at the start of every video that I did. Sargon said it on his videos, right? Mundane Matt said it on his videos. I think the only person who didn't say it was the Internet Risk He didn't care. He just didn't give a shit, right? But everyone that I know who was you know, pro GamerGate,
Jim won,
and yet it still happened because you got harassed, Brianna.
Yeah.
So it's I don't like the fact that the mainstream narrative of GamerGate is all harassment, because that's frankly bullshit. But to say that it didn't exist is also pretty bullshit.
Well, I think, and the generous thing I would say here, not even generous, but just flat out accurate, is, you know, you in the second part of that clip, you really go through a lot of extremely relevant and concerning things about conflict of interest that happened in the game industry, with various people basically choosing game awards, being in sexual relationships with various people, and really being in a position where it is utterly fair to call that into question, their objectivity and the value of that. And for me, like, as deep as I was into it back then, I legitimately, hand to God, put it on the Bible. I had no idea about half that stuff. And I encourage people to watch it because I think it is a valid thing to have concerns about. The good thing I would say is, I know your position is they're still up to their old tricks. I don't know if I agree with you on that. I think that overall the games press has so much less power today, as YouTube stars have kind of taken over the role of advocate for the consumer and educating people and reviewing things, that I kind of feel in some ways it was a collision course of credibility of some of the major outlets versus just normie gamers. And I think if you look at the metrics of who gamers turn to nowadays, I think it's clear they went with a different model.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I think if they could be up to their old tricks, they would be.
Ralph makes a
And I
comeback.
think the Sweet Baby Inc. thing is them trying to be up to their old tricks, but it's mostly failing because they just don't have the pull they have.
Ralph hasn't gone anywhere.
I was going to ask, how did you get
Ralph's
involved in the
fucking
original GamerGate in the first
immortal,
place, Bree?
dude. Come on now.
So the big thing was Samantha Allen getting targeted, and a whole bunch of other women that I cared about getting doxxed and targeted. You know, I know in that video, Dev, you brought up some mean things that Samantha said, and I'm aware of this part of her personality. But at the core of it, you know, she was trying to advocate for more women to be hired in the video game industry, and I think it's legitimate for something like Giant Bomb. You know, like when they were part of Whiskey Media, I was one of their ultra subscribers. Like I was a mega fan of Giant Bomb. I wrote tons of their wiki. Yeah, I donated every year. It really bothered me, the fact that every single time a hiring position came up, it was just never a woman, right? I would have loved a woman on the Giant Bomb cast. That would have been really meaningful to me. And she was like bringing that hiring bias to attention. I think that's a fair thing to do. And, you know, basically a bunch of people ended up going after her and harassing her until she quit the industry. And then it happened to a whole bunch of other people. So I understand like you had a different experience, but for me, it genuinely was. My friends were getting harassed and then I got harassed. There's a Polygon piece, I believe from 2013 I wrote that was the third most read story that year, according to my editor, called No Skin Thick Enough. And it's just kind of outlining the blowback that women game devs are constantly trying to deal with.
Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to believe that both of these things are true, right?
Yeah.
So there's definitely going to be instances where a woman in gaming gets harassed for no reason because people are being assholes and they're visible. Okay, it's not unbelievable because everyone gets harassed on the internet, right? It's not unbelievable this would happen. But at the same time, then you have women who actually did things wrong. Yeah. And then people started complaining like, hey, you've done this thing. And then they characterize that as harassment. Yeah. In my opinion, that is at least part of what happened to Zoe Quinn. I'm sure there are people sending really bad things to her. Of course, there's always gonna be someone on a stock account telling her to kill herself. But
at least part.
Looking into people and noticing that they've actually
you can say a bit more
done
than
bad
that,
things and treated people poorly. And then saying you're a bad person for doing this and we don't want you in this community. That's not harassment.
I completely agree.
Well, I guess that's sort of the problem that, you know, we were kind of talking about with the tribalism is that, you know, you either have an issue or people you know are sort of attacked, and then, you know, the defensive claws come out on both sides, and they kind of ignore the issues and they ignore what the other side's saying. It's like, yeah, so, you know, obviously people shouldn't be harassed on the internet, but obviously, so on the same token, you know, it seems completely horribly unethical if, you know, all these different sites, you know, work together secretly to craft a narrative to essentially defend someone for nepotistic reasons and then accuse everyone for being sexist if they don't, you know, fall in line with this narrative.
Yep. I mean, because that did happen. We got the Game Journal Pros list. We know what they're saying behind the scenes. Someone leaked it to the internet. So that did actually happen. They were crafting that narrative during GamerGate. Yeah.
Interesting.
Maybe you guys were being sexist though.
You think so? Well, see, Adam, I'm not sure you were around.
I'm waiting for the fight to break out. I'm just sitting here like patiently waiting.
Sorry, it's not going to happen.
What do you want? Do you want Devin and I to start screaming at each
just
other?
look, it's like a hug box.
Oh, this is pretty boring, isn't it? Maybe should we keep going? Fuck it,
It's
I'll
like
keep
a little
going.
boring.
Why
over
not?
here, but,
I
you know,
can
go ahead.
ask
Keep
a
going.
question that will add some.
Look,
Okay, do it.
I just look. I like look. I'm a storyteller. Conflict drives the story. Like
So-
nobody wants to sit around and see you guys like.
Yeah, but
slap
we've kind
each
of
other on
settled
the
this
back
conflict.
about how
Like,
you-
it's a 10-year-old conflict.
Well, let me open the Pandora's
But
box
look,
here.
supposedly someone came by and tore the bandage off. I was pitched GamerGate 2.0 here.
So
Look, they
let
ripped
me
your stitches out.
let me
I
add
can
some
give you
conflict
some
here.
drama if you want. But
No, let me add
okay.
some conflict here. Okay. So you had a conversation recently, Bree, I listened to. I forget
Okay.
what the guy's name was, but you said that part of the reason that you don't like the kind of direction the internet progressives are going, which actually later in the conversation I am interested to hear like how you define liberal, progressive, and leftist, but we'll keep that for later.
Sure.
Part of the reason you didn't like the direction the internet progressives are going currently, after like also because of all the Israel stuff, is that you feel like they've basically adopted GamerGate tactics.
Yeah.
And then I think when the host said they asked you,
Which kind of formed my opinion already. I know the info. Nothing these was said here changing for me. And yeah, the other thing is that they're too afraid of conflict on the parts where they do disagree to make it interesting. Yeah, it's fucking gay. Just sucks. It's just dog shit content, really. But we'll try. We'll keep it going for a little bit. Maybe they get into it.
you question something about like, well, is that really GamerGate tactics? You seem to be under the idea that before GamerGate, the left had never done anything like that.
I don't think that's what I said. I
You
think
said, can you give me an
GamerGate-
example of like the left engaged in that kind of behavior before GamerGate?
Well, I can tell you I flat out think. I think GamerGate was really a cultural flashpoint of these kinds of tactics becoming extremely mainstream. And then I think the Trump election happened in 2016, and I think they became extremely mainstream as like Steve Bannon brought that into kind of the alt-right playbook to get Trump elected. So I'm sure there are many examples of it happening before then.
Yes, GamerGate got Trump elected.
Sure, doxing
Very
people,
true.
you know, kind of sending mobs of people after them
Very
to scream
wise.
at them over differences of opinion.
You are the center of
death
the
threats, rape
universe.
threats, basically making
Everything
the
is
cost of
about
speaking
you.
out so high, it's smarter to stay silent. Having bomb threats called into your public speaking appearances, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I do recall fuck, wasn't it like Milo was going to speak? This kicked it off way back in like 2016. Milo was going to speak at university, and like they ended up burning a trailer that was on the campus down in their riot because they didn't want
Really?
Milo there. Yeah,
Yeah.
Did that
remember this, right,
happen?
Sitch?
Oh my
That did
gosh.
happen, yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
there was dramatic
Pakistani black
pictures of just
magicians.
This is before Milo became as controversial as he is now.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember like Faith
Uh,
Goldie's very far right, but she was going to speak at a university. They pulled they called in bomb threats and they pulled the fire alarm on her. Like this shit was happening all throughout, pretty much like 2015 to like 2020. If you had a right wing person speaking somewhere, somebody was trying to stop them from doing it, and it got to the point that it was fucking ridiculous.
He was supposed to speak. Miles was supposed to speak at Berkeley. This was in 2017. There's an article from CNN that says Berkeley protest of Yiannopoulos caused $100,000 in damage.
Holy shit!
So,
yeah, man.
Jesus.
So I don't know. I guess
Well,
you know what.
well, I guess really quick, Sitch, this is interesting because a lot of the stuff, Brianna, you don't seem to know about, right? This is kind of all passed you by.
Yeah.
And I remember I did a video a couple months, no, maybe like a month ago, where basically a 90-year-old woman was canceled by some leftoids because she didn't know what pronouns to use because she's fucking 90. Right?
Right.
And this is a story that went viral specifically on right-wing Twitter. And you hadn't seen the story until you watched my video, Brianna.
That's correct.
And so what I'm kind of realizing is you have a lot of people who are in one political camp and they see a bunch of legitimately bad things happen to them, to their side. They're like, what the fuck? But meanwhile, the other side doesn't see it. And that seems to be happening on both sides, where it is the echo chamber, it is the media bubble, it is like people, bad things are happening to both left-leaning people and right-leaning people, but each side is only seeing the part of the story that makes them the victim.
What are the bad
100%.
things that are happening to the left-leaning people?
Go ahead,
What are they?
Brianna. You have an example?
What are some bad things?
They're
that are
losing
happening
their show on MSNBC.
Yeah, well, it's not- I think I'll just choose not to get involved with that. I do think there is still hiring bias that happens
Wait, what the
just
fuck
across
did I
the
just do
board. I
wrong?
think you can look at the
Wasn't that
numbers. And
straight? Am
you
I
know,
I mean, you got
I-
people who are being debanked, and you're comparing that to hiring bias.
some kind of fucking
you're
retard.
talking about Kanye West being debanked. A bank can choose not to work with an anti-Semite. I
Oh my
think that's entirely
God.
fine.
There
Oh
were people
my
that were.
God.
I think. Fuentes
No
was debanked. Kanye,
way.
I think is lying about being debanked.
Yeah.
If you look into the story, but
I mean, yeah. To be fair, okay, Kanye is kind of lying because didn't he literally like specifically start shit with the CEO of JP Morgan or whatever the fuck? Isn't that? Yeah. Okay. So Kanye, yeah, maybe Kanye is not the example here, but it's pretty wild to sit there and be like, "Well, I think it's fine for a bank to not work with an anti-Semite." Like, dude, come on. This is just like it's just fodder. It's like you want people to hate Jews. That's what you want, Brianna. That's what this behavior is going to get.
but no, like I remember, I think it was around the time of GamerGate. It was in 2014. There's that guy. They did something. They landed some spacecraft on an asteroid or the moon or something. There was some space thing related. And the guy who was on the team that they interviewed, he was wearing like a shirt and it had a bunch of like kind of sexy women on the shirt.
Mhm.
And do you remember this? And like everyone tried to get this guy like fired. It was like this huge controversy. Like, how dare this guy
Oh, I
wear a
remember that
shirt
shit.
with like
That was
attractive
funny.
women on it in the workplace? That's so offensive to women everywhere. And it was like this huge controversy. And then it turned out that the person that made the shirt was actually like a personal friend of his who was a woman. And like, and it was just, I just remember it was like this huge thing that was going on in 2014. It was,
Hey,
like,
is-
around the same
How
time
about
as
Cliff
GamerGate.
Blazinski? Do you remember
Is,
this? The
is
father
Nick
of
Fuentes
Gears
the
of
only
War?
one getting debanked?
Cliffy B?
Look,
Yeah.
hey, I hear tell of people getting debanked all the time. And look, I got no love for Nick Fuentes, but Nick Fuentes is the only one getting debanked. That doesn't seem correct.
I don't know who's other. I mean,
Yeah.
I recall hearing of some other people doing it.
Look, chat, if you can give us some people that have been debanked, that would be great. So
Mhm.
I believe it's more than just Nick Fuentes. So
No, but what I was going to say is like Cliffy B. Here's an example. There was a picture of
Fuentes.
him
Why is he saying it like
in his
that?
office with his mouse pad,
Fuentes.
and it was a mouse
Sound
pad
like
with
a
like two
white
big boobs
person.
under it for wrist support. And he got so much garbage from that.
Did he actually?
Yeah, from SJW Twitter, and I think it's pretty silly because he's actually a really good guy if you know him. So
And then
everyone's
also,
saying Josh Moon, who I've never heard of. They're
Oh,
saying
Josh
Dick,
Moon.
Dick Masterson
What?
was debanked.
there you go.
The truckers were debanked. Who did the trucker protests? Which Dev, you're supposed to have a video on this. You should have a
One
long
day,
list
one
of
day.
people who've been debanked.
All the
right?
debanked people did.
So it's just like I just it's not really fair to say, oh, I don't care. Look, I don't care if Nick Fuentes gets debanked either. But like, just the problem is when you've got milquetoast conservatives that are
Why are
being
you
pitched
saying
as
that?
Adolf Hitler and getting debanked. That's the
what is
problem.
an example of a
Wait. Well, they're just all on board with Fuentes being debanked? What? Really? Yeah, thoughts on Josh Moon, Brianna? Care to comment, Brianna Wu? That's crazy that they're all just totally on board with that. I'm not even on board with that. I'm way more of a libcock than these people. No? At least than SFO and Adam and Sitch.
quote unquote milk toast conservative that is getting debanked.
Well, I don't know. Maybe Joshua. I don't know.
No.
I'll follow up on this, but my
I mean, he's
point.
not a
My,
Nazi,
look,
but he
my
is-
only point
is
was
a
we're talking
hardcore
about.
troll.
Look, we're talking about getting debanked, which seems like could be catastrophic for your business versus some
Wait, was that just
like
Marines
White
deserve it?
and getting debanked? That's the
What is an
problem, yeah.
example of a quote unquote milk toast conservative that is getting debanked?
Well, I don't know. Maybe Joshua. I don't know.
No,
Follow
okay.
politics, but my
I mean, he's
point,
not a Nazi, but he
my
is-
only point
is
was
a
we're talking
hardcore
about. Look, we're talking about getting debanked, which seems like could be catastrophic for your
Josh's
business versus
politics kind of irrelevant.
some
problem there.
some
Well, not-
sketchy hiring practices.
I mean, I
Right.
don't think anyone should be able to be debanked for political reasons. That seems kind of insane to me.
I mean, people are saying Nigel Farage. That was in the UK, and the UK is kind of fucked. So
Yeah.
But anyway, look, my point is just like comparing getting debanked to like, are people on the left getting debanked? What is the equivalent of getting debanked on the left? I'm just, I'm trying to
can't
do
think of
like,
one, yeah.
the lady with the blindfold and the scales, Lady Justice, that's what they call her. I'm trying to think like debanked over here, and they didn't hire enough women. I'm going, okay, one seems a little heavier than the other, but
I feel like on your show we've talked about my belief that women do not get a fair shake in technology a lot.
No,
so I don't want to go down that path again.
which is worse, getting debanked or women not getting a fair shake? And
I think just statistically, you can look at I think statistically there's an exponentially larger number of women that are mistreated than people that get debanked every year. I would argue it's probably not about politics like left versus right as much as behavior, right?
Yeah,
like
you
when I
reckon?
work with my
Okay.
particular bank, which is amalgamated from my pack. Yeah, there's certain values they have, there's certain standards they have. I have to read that and I have to abide by them by the way I behave. This is just, I don't know. I think it feels like a mountain out of a molehill, but like Dev said, maybe I'm missing something.
right, no,
People having their bank taken
I
away.
do
is a
think
mount out of a molehill.
that there's not as
All right.
as many ramifications on the left, as many cultural ramifications on the left. Like,
Okay.
I don't think left-wing business owners worry about getting debanked.
I mean, you're partially true. I think we've now seen the it's not debanking, but we've now seen
Man, these people fucking suck, don't they? I'm just losing it here. Holy shit.
the cultural ramifications come in post October 7th, right? Because a lot of progressives have said a lot of weird shit about Israel and
And
Palestine.
did any of them get debanked?
No, but they are getting fired. They are getting expelled from universities. They are losing positions of influence. So
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
look how
it is
long,
moving in-
look how much
Look how long it
Claudine
took,
Gay had to
exactly.
go through just to get fired. When she should have been fired, I think we even talked to you about this, Brie, that you agreed that she should have been fired just for her performance.
100%.
And then yet it took like all of that, controversy about her plagiarizing to get her out. And then
Yeah,
even
I
then
agree
she
with
just got like demoted to like her previous job. She still works
She
at
didn't get
Harvard.
debanked. She still makes, look, she's the highest paid teacher at Harvard. She makes a
Right.
president's salary
I
to
think
teach.
I feel if this is your concern, I feel very strongly that you're going to see for these fringe people out here, they're defending Hamas and cheerleading the Houthis, and now even this last week, y'all, we've seen them like actually standing for Hezbollah. Like I at least I vehemently disagree with the characterization of Hamas as freedom fighters, but like if you're talking Hezbollah, I mean, my God, these people have left any kind of reality that is true, and they are going to be facing professional consequences. And I don't think I'm the only person on the left that's woken up and has gone, "Holy crap, we've got an actual MAGA like on our side that is dangerous to democracy. We've got to take action." So I think you're going to see a little bit less kumbaya. We're all one big team on the left. I think you're going to see some consequences.
I definitely hope so. And I mean, I agree that after October, and then especially after the hearings with the college presidents,
somehow
there does seem to be some sort of acknowledgement forming on the mainstream and on the left to acknowledge that, maybe all those people we just kind of poo-pooed as woke college kids and didn't like ignored, maybe that was a bad idea. Maybe we should have been paying attention to those people.
Yeah.
But I guess I don't know if it's going to manifest into anything greater. I mean, I just saw, I was listening to, you and Connor yesterday, and I was looking at myself, Hassan's coverage of Israel is insane. And he is still basically tweeted out that he is totally fine with Hamas existing as long as Israel exists. Essentially was like what I got from the tweet that he put out. And he was, blatantly supporting people, and he still does support a YouTuber who, said that what Hamas did was very based and good. And he doesn't really seem to have got any sort of repercussion. He's, I think, the largest political streamer in the world, or at least the United States. And it's very scary to me that this is what like a lot of young kids are listening to.
You didn't get debanked, Sitch?
He did not get debanked, no.
Oh, wow.
He's not getting debanked.
I
mean, I think
you
he
get a
should
slap
get
on the
debanked.
wrist.
Yeah.
never
Communist,
happening. Legit, never ever happening.
Different story.
It seems like we're not talking about
Jesus.
Sweet Baby anymore.
No,
We
but
kind
it's
of
fine.
gone off the yeah.
Listen,
Well,
Hey,
look,
do
we
you have
can
more
do-
to say about Sweet Baby? Because that's what I can
mean,
hear. We haven't
kinda.
talked about the Kotaku article yet.
We haven't.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
also there is some conspiratorial deep diving we can do about Sweet
okay.
Baby.
Well,
Please,
what's the
please.
Kotaku article, and then what's the conspiracy?
Oh, which one do you want to do first? I guess
Let's
the
start with
article?
Kotaku, yeah.
Yeah, let me see if I can dig it up. So basically, where is it? Hold on.
You need some notes?
Sweet Baby Inc. doesn't do what some gamers think it does. That's the name of the
Yeah,
article
that's
from
the
Kotaku.
article. Yeah.
No one company is forcing diversity into all your favorite video games.
Here,
Well,
I'll
I mean, I
put
guess
it
I
in
would
the Zoom
agree.
chat.
I haven't
Yeah.
read this article, but I guess I would agree that no one company is forcing diversity into your favorite video games. But there definitely seems to be a
Oh, so is it-
very
I haven't
broad-
actually. I don't know shit about this Kotaku article. Did they just completely misrepresent it entirely, and just blow up the claims to obviously extraordinary levels that no one can possibly prove to dispel the entire thing? Is that that's the vibe I'm getting immediately?
push in all media to kind of shove
Mhm.
the leftist version of diversity into all media.
So when I was in Side Scrollers, I outlined that Craig pointed out on that appearance that they hadn't no one in the games press had talked about the Sweet Baby controversy despite it going viral, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
I said, listen, it's been a week, give it maybe another week at the most, and they'll start talking about it. And that was just based off of the GamerGate experience. It's like, listen, right now they're trying to make it go away. It's not going away. So there's going to be articles, and where they're going to come to the defense of their friends. And you know what? In 5 days, this article came out. So I pretty much had it on the notes.
You called it.
Yeah. And as soon as this article came out, it was kind of like the dam broke, and then a bunch of other articles came out the next few days. It wasn't nearly as coordinated as the Gamers Are Dead thing from 2014, but it did feel like they were all like someone was waiting for someone to kind of take the first plunge, and then as soon as they did, they all felt safe in putting their articles out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, since you were around in GamerGate, you remember the Gamers Are Dead thing?
Of course. I mean, I wasn't making content back in those days, but like I was lurking, sure.
Yeah, wild times. So if you go over this article, let's see if I can scroll down a little bit. And
I wish I was making content, because I remember in 2014, okay, when Milo Yiannopoulos picked up the mantle at GamerGate, and since I was a person who had been interested in politics for most of my life, knew who Milo Yiannopoulos was or knew who Breitbart News was, and said, okay, this should not be the mantle that gets picking up the GamerGate movement. And I could see sort of the gears turning there, but sadly I didn't have a channel to raise alarm to that. But
I recall Total Biscuits actually saying that exact thing. He's like, listen,
good for him. Yeah.
He basically said, like, listen, it should be more center lefty media coming out and saying something's wrong here, because you are ceding this entire cultural ground to the right. And that's what happened, right?
Yeah,
a whole bunch of right-wing personalities came out of GamerGate.
Yep.
But basically, this article, can I find the specific passage? Hold on, give me 30 seconds. I'll do a search.
Let's read some super chats. We probably got a bunch of them here, and we only have a half hour left, right? Oh no,
yeah, I know there are at least
an hour and a half. Oh, okay, we got plenty of time.
There are some that are addressed to me or Brianna directly. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
We're going to talk to Rudyard at 7, right?
Yeah, we got an hour and a half. I messed up.
I know.
blame
Same time
daylight
it's messing with all our
savings,
minds. Yes.
We looks dejected. We looks bored.
Is the worst. Bree, I don't mean to get confrontational, but I do think part of your red pilling is coming to the acknowledgement that there is like a double standard. There's an obvious double standard, right? Like the left doesn't say shit and gets
thoughts on
slapped.
Total Biscuit, Brianna? Any thoughts on Total Biscuit? That man whose memory you desecrated by continuing to call him what was it? A racist, transphobic leader of harassment after he died, saying you had no tears for his death or whatever.
Wrist, because they have the cultural power, and the right does milquetoast stuff, and they get debanked.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Right. Look, see, this is where we say, look.
Well, would you agree that it seems like it doesn't seem like to me that I can really think of an example of it. Too many examples where someone who's pushing kind of one of these leftist narratives, before the October stuff with Israel, was really getting in trouble in any sort of mainstream way for pushing some kind of hyper woke stuff.
Is it a crime to have a really extremist position on diversity?
No, but I'm saying that people that were on the right that were pushing things that were, I'd say, were more milquetoast or at the same level of extreme were definitely getting canceled and attacked violently by the mainstream. Like Jordan Peterson, I don't really agree with the direction he's gone now, but when he first came on the scene in 2016, 2017, he was saying very milquetoast, centrist stuff, and he was just vilified by the mainstream media as this horrible alt-right Nazi. It was just wild to me. It just seems like, I would assume that you'd agree that the left definitely seems to have a lot greater cultural power in terms of the media attacking people in this way.
Don't know. It's really hard to argue against an anecdote, right? Because I kind of just have a different worldview. So I think all I can do is really just say my position is I think the right wing has a tremendous amount of cultural power too. Media is failing just up and down the board. Yet, Dev, I think your channel is a really good example. You have a much larger audience than a lot of left-wing creators, and I think that's because you're really skillful at what you do. So,
thanks.
I do think there is.
I
think, and not say Dev is right wing because I don't think that's true, but I think I think that the right has a cultural force that
blazing is
maybe I'm
wild.
giving more credit for it than you are.
Well, let me kind of narrow in.
Hold
on. Before you move on. Okay, let me narrow in the claim here.
Sure.
So, it definitely seems like the right definitely has cultural power in some areas. But you had the Bud Light protests and things, backlash and all that stuff. But it definitely seems like, and I guess I'd be very surprised if you disagree, that the mainstream cultural forces have been completely dominated by the left for the last 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
I would agree with that.
Okay, so I guess that's what I'm referring to when I talk about the cultural power the left seems to be stronger than the right is in terms of these mainstream forces.
Yeah, I'd be really curious about your opinion on this, but this is just the broadest 30,000-foot view of how I would see this. It doesn't surprise me. A lot of the communist types, and they're like, we need a revolution. We need a second civil war in this country. And I'm like, yeah, if I had to bet on the extreme right and the extreme left for a civil war in the United States, I don't think it's going to be the communists that win. The right is better at a lot of things. I'm in car culture. This is massively dominated by the right wing. I enjoy watching gun reviews, right? This is massively dominated by the right wing. So I think when it comes to art and comic book movies and video games, I think it's really true that there are a lot more leftists there. just because I think that's what attracts people to those kinds of careers. And I think there's a real deficiency that right-wingers tend to have in being attracted to that. So I think it's this base competence that we have in our interests, if that makes sense.
No, I'm thinking about it. I mean, Sitch, you know more about personalities and psychology than I do, I think, at this point. Where basically, this probably tracks where like a more conservative person tends to have a less creative personality, generally speaking, and so they're not really drawn towards the arts, which means
they're less open to.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's every time she talks, she spoke around in circles. Was like, yeah, I just disagree. I just got a different perspective on it. I hope we can move forward and have a directional conversation. It's absolutely insufferable to listen to. There is no reason for her to be in content other than just being the GamerGate person.
Which I guess correlates with creativity, but not necessarily directly.
Yeah, so they're less likely to be making video games, or making comic books, making movies. All these areas kind of have become more left-wing spaces, right? That broadly tracks, I think. I think also is that once you have a certain population of one political group in a space like that, they will start pushing out the people who have minority opinions. So even if there was a more conservative person who is interested in being creative, it's gonna be an uphill battle for him to do it, right? Like a great example is like all the right-leaning actors being pushed out of Hollywood in the past 5 to 10 years, right? Shit like that, I think, is kind of what we're talking about here.
Well, I think what's going. Well, first of all, regarding the Civil War thing, I mean, if there was quote a Civil War, and it was like a right versus left Civil War,
well,
or at least let's say the socialist versus the MAGA crowd or whatever. I agree that I think the right would pretty easily win that because we looked at Occupy Wall Street, and considering the socialists are very anti-hierarchy in the first place, I don't think they're going to be able to marshal any sort of fighting force.
So, Occupy Wall Street versus January 6th. Like who wins?
Yeah.
It's obvious, right?
Well, that's actually January 6th was a one-day spontaneous event where Occupy Wall Street was people who were like out there for months and they couldn't even get a list of demands together. It was just like ludicrous. So
it's interesting because like you have leftists. We're talking communists here. Communists, they talk all about revolting against the government, but right wingers actually do it. Like they drive their trucks up to Parliament, they riot inside the Capitol. Like they actually do this shit. They just talk about it.
Well, leftists like to burn shit down, but
do they ever burn down? Like, did they ever burn down the Capitol?
They tried to. I mean, they did try to in Portland. They tried to burn down the federal courthouse. Were unsuccessful because the police stopped them. But anyway, regarding sort of what you were saying, Dev, I think what's important here is that you've had for a very, very long time, just not even because of like malicious intention, but just because I think people of different political persuasion. I do think that political.
Guys, this is painful. This is real painful. This is like next level painful. Whew. I'm gonna try and keep going. I'm gonna try and finish this. I think we're gonna try and finish this. We might give up. I'm not sure yet, but it's horrendous. It's crazy they bring up Total Biscuit and don't press Brianna right at all. Bring up her fucking tweets. Bring up her fucking tweets about Total Biscuit right now. Bring up that clip of her at some games convention saying that he's a racist, transphobic leader of harassment. Press her on something for once. Make her answer for something one fucking time.
And a lot of people's political persuasions is rooted in
they do know the law.
And their personal differences. And I think just because of that, you would get a situation where you get a lot more people on the left would be more attracted to doing things like making movies and making art, and also being a teacher at college. And a lot more right wing people were more interested in starting a business, joining the military, sort of going in those directions. And it sort of led that these two, these various institutions that kind of shift in the various directions they did over the years, even though obviously everyone's making fun of the military for being woke now, but that's a different story. But the problem, I guess, with that is that that's kind of fine-ish until you get sort of an extreme movement that kind of that exists on the left or the right that starts growing inside a left or right wing dominant space, because people tend to overlook the extremists on their side because they don't want to give ammunition to the bad guys on the other side. So it seems like that the left was overlooking the radical socialist element in all these college campuses, and even in sort of in a lot of the woke sort of diversity ESG sort of crap that companies are now kind of inculcated with. They sort of overlook that until it's like almost too late, and now it's like harder to tear out.
She has this disarming glazing strategy where she just becomes like a totally vapid, non-confrontational, empty-headed retard who can only speak from anecdote and can't address any real points or the actual take an actual position on anything the moment she starts getting pressed. So she's never put in a position where she has to say something that might make her look bad. It's fucking insufferable.
This socialist parasite that's already rooted so deeply in all these institutions.
I feel particularly qualified to like as a cautionary tale of how violently and aggressively unrewarding it is to criticize your own side.
Exactly.
Ever since, look, my principles, my politics have not changed one damn bit since before October 7th. I don't think it's crazy to support terrorism and to support geostability, generally speaking. And
and pretend that her like brain just was in a vat for like 4 years as well, and that she just doesn't remember anything. Yeah.
blowback I've gotten over Israel Palestine is just insane, right?
Mhm.
So I think you're correct that there are a lot of people that don't want to hear it. To be fair, the Dev, do you think, because you get a lot of blowback from right wingers that I see for criticism that strikes me as very mild. So I mean, I think you get this to a certain extent as well.
Yeah, a lot of it's just gonna be loyalty based, right?
Yeah.
If someone thinks that you're on their side, then you critique their side, they just get mad, right?
Yeah.
And that's been like and Sitch, I know that you've seen this because I've talked to you about it, and you've been involved in some of it over the years, Sitch, where it's like I'll post, a liberal take, and people like lose their fucking minds in my comments, and I'm like, I've been saying for 10 years I'm a liberal. What did you expect? What did you think that meant? And they thought it was dog whistling. They thought because back in like back in the day, like 2016, 2017, whatever it was, Nick Fuentes called himself a liberal. He wasn't. But that was his gambit, right? And lots of people in that, like people who were not liberals in that era, called themselves liberals until they got established, and then they went mask off.
It is interesting. It does seem like almost everyone's mask off nowadays. Like everyone knows.
Fuentes kind of is,
because you're right. Back in the day, Nick Fuentes and a lot of other people were like and even people left were all pretending to be liberals, and it turns out like no, we're actually like white nationalists or we're actually communists. Like it seems like all the masks have kind of slipped by now.
Yeah, I definitely have a more right-leaning audience than I am, and they definitely get angry whenever I critique the right. That's
so I mean, so do we to some extent. We half our audience criticizes us when we criticize. That's not fair. I'd say 30% of our audience gets mad when we criticize Trump or something. So. That's fine. But listen, you gotta just stay,
Well, Sitch, I did a video on this yesterday, and my video on this yesterday explains this entire phenomenon. However,
the competency crisis.
This is a really good video. People should watch this.
Oh, what, the competency crisis?
Yeah, I really like
well, thank you. Listen, we have to talk about Mention Smallbug though to really explain it.
Hey, I just looked up some headlines here.
Okay, go ahead.
I got the New York Post. J.P. Morgan Chase accused of purging accounts over conservative activists. I got Reuters, UK, alleged probe bans banks blacklisting clients over political views. I've got Newsweek. Stop the troubling trend of politically motivated debanking.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, look, these are reputable institutions. Reuters, Newsweek, the New York Post. Look, somebody's talking about this.
It says, according to this article, that Enrico Tarrio, who
I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy, Brianna. I promise, Brie. I'm not crazy, Brie.
And Martina Marcoda discovered their accounts at Chase were closed.
I promise, Brie. I'm not making it up, Brie.
Without satisfactory explanations. I mean, how do you feel about that, Brie? Do you think that if
how do you feel about that, Brie?
Have had their accounts closed?
What do you think about that, Brie?
I think send me the article. I will read about it, and we can talk about it next time.
I want to know what the left wing accounts aren't getting debanked. They aren't even being threatened with debanking. So look, the right is illegal, and the left is like they get hand slaps.
That's my only point. Hate it, man.
Sure, I need to read about it. I mean, come on, if I read about it, I've given Dev 1,000,000 points today because I've read his stuff. I've done my homework. I've thought about it. It seems well thought out. He's got a good argument. If you've got that here, I'll give it to you. I just don't know enough to say one way or the other because I haven't read it.
So, as a general rule, from my point of view, like there are some instances where
never seen anything, never read anything.
There's going to be some social consequence, but there's certain layers of society where there should not be a social consequence taking place on that layer. And I think your ability to use
Brianna was so fun. Like, so much fun content.
Maybe someone shits on you on Twitter. Maybe you get like a hate mob after you because you gave a really dumb take. Okay, it sucks, but it's just it's free speech, right? But should you be debanked? Like I think the answer to that is just blanket no. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely.
So ActBlue is a payment processor that it's here in Massachusetts. And
anti-government cuts make law. Kind of true.
It is, I don't want to say it's a monopoly, but it is nearly a monopoly as far as payment processing if you're donating money to Democratic candidates, right? And ActBlue has decided to not work with certain people after they've said things or done things that are just beyond the pale, that it doesn't represent their values, right? People calling for political violence, things like that. This is their identity. It's their brand. They're a democratic payment processor for campaigns. The exact same thing with Amalgamated, which is, my PAX Bank. They have certain standards and they're going to kick out the crazies. I don't think that's, because you've got alternatives if you don't like that situation, but I don't think it's unreasonable for an institution to say, we've got a reputation here, and we do judge who we work with based on public behavior. That doesn't seem unusual to me.
Yeah, but would you
separate... communists don't damage their reputation, and anyone any conservative does. That's just a truth.
What is the truth? Could you say that again?
Working with communists, working with far left activists doesn't hurt their reputation. Working with people who support Palestine and are going to march around campuses yelling from the river to the sea is not going to hurt their reputation.
I don't know if that's true. I really don't. I think you're going to see consequences for that.
Well, I would love to see the consequences. I don't know what they are.
Yeah. So I guess here, maybe I can see what you're saying here.
Okay, Adam's pressing.
The craziest people on the no, I agree with you. I agree with you. I want to reword it. Basically, the craziest people on the left do not seem to get socially punished the way that the craziest people on the right do. That's basically it, and that does seem to be just true.
Yes, factually correct.
I would probably go with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no downside to being a crazy leftist. There's no downside to being Hassan.
There's no downside.
There's no downside to questioning whether or not rapes took place on October 7th, which you have plenty of far left activists openly doing that and suffering no downside whatsoever.
I completely agree.
It's Marxism, Adam. It's all just Marxism.
That's more Sitch's thing. Look,
but don't you think to an extent? I don't know. I think generally speaking, my march of the last 10 years has been,
Directionally
especially now
speaking.
that liberalism, small liberalism, and by liberalism I mean like open debate, open expression of ideas, discussing things. Now that
Yes,
that seems
most
to be more and
wise,
more
Bree.
attacked all the way over the world, maybe the answer is more of us taking a breath and developing a thicker skin for hearing ideas and working with people that we don't agree with.
Look, I'm down with that. I'm down with that. I'm totally down with that. But I just think obviously society is structured unfairly, and if we don't point it out, then we can't get back to that structuring things fairly.
Well, yeah, this is where I think it comes back to GamerGate. And I'm speaking here more as like just a practical point of view. Like, I obviously have a different position personally about like our, typical white male straight guys being disrespected by the video game industry, right? I don't feel this is not a priority for me in the same way, but it's just objectively true that a lot of people out there do feel that way. And, the video game industry is in a really tough financial spot right now. And I think what makes more sense is I think the future is us learning to get along with each other and trying to be a little bit more open to each other's perspectives on things on the left and the right. Like, I think that a lot of the GamerGate stuff would not have blown up as much if there hadn't been this kind of callous disregard for some of the points that were being raised.
Yeah, that sounds about right. See, I can tell you why a lot of guys feel that way, though, because I also feel that way, and I did 10 years ago. At some point, I am going to do, probably for the anniversary, I'm going to do the big 10-year anniversary of GamerGate video, right? But the TLDR of it was that, and I think my experience is pretty universal. I'm pretty sure people who are in their 30s right now in the chat, they can confirm or deny, but I think it's a pretty universal experience. Growing up in the 90s, if you were a kid who played video games, you were bullied. It was not popular. It was not cool. It was not, yeah. So, and basically, the only people who were, let's say, leaders of the community that had your back were people who like wrote in Nintendo Power or something. And then they eventually became the games journalists. And I always go back to this one example where you have Jeff Keighley on Fox News defending the sex scenes in Mass Effect from conservatives who were basically coming for video games saying they were satanic and they were evil, they were poisoning kids' minds, they were too violent, etc., etc., etc. That was the narrative of what gaming was in the 90s and the 2000s, is that it was this kind of demonized hobby the same way that D&D was before it. And so if you're the kind of person who was bullied, you didn't get any play with girls, you were considered like a nerd or a loser by the wider culture, and the only people in your corner were the leaders of your subculture. To have those same leaders turn around and basically throw you under the bus, which is what happened in 2014, because we were all saying, hey, there's corruption here, what's going on? And the same people that we trusted said, no, you're wrong. Not like they came after the gamers for criticizing their friends. Like that, I think everyone felt like it was an immense betrayal, and I think that's why so many people were so passionate.
No one liked me growing up, but I thought people did like me.
Everyone
when I went on the internet
because of being a gamer, and then the one person that always had their back, or the one group of people that always had their back, suddenly didn't have their back anymore. And so everyone felt an immense amount of betrayal back in 2014.
I can understand that. I genuinely can. I think for the other side, it was women love video games the same way those guys do, right? And I think it just breaks your heart to see.
No, they don't.
Like the
Sorry, that's just a lie. No, they don't.
Rarely see yourself in the gaming press.
No, they do not.
It broke my heart year after year when I would see the Game of the Year awards coming out, and just all of them always so male centric with the same predictable themes and games I loved and a lot of my friends loved, just being overlooked or made fun of because people like that weren't in the room to offer a different point of view, right? So I don't know. I think something I have clarity on 10 years later is I can at least see the humanity in the people that you're talking about. And I
like The Sims colon 3, incredibly true, spitting every aspect of that. Just
that all makes sense too. Just to clarify the chat, just real quick. Yeah. So in my school year, back when I was in school, there was exactly one girl student who played video games. No one else did, and the rest of us made fun of the guys that played video games. The rest of them made fun of the guys that played video games. So yeah, there was definitely I think it's because, and I think that's actually a pretty common experience for people who are in my age range, where it's like, girls didn't grow up. The ones that were around us didn't grow up playing video games. So to suddenly see them in video games, it definitely felt like they were moving into a space that they had previously ridiculed us for enjoying. And so there was definitely a lot of defensiveness that was there for sure.
Well, that's definitely my experience as well. I think part of it is that men and women do have, on average, different ways of interacting with each other. And essentially you had women, which is fine, but you had women entering a male space and not liking the male interaction, which is usually a lot more aggressive and brash and insulting towards each other. And that's just not the way that the general woman interaction is, which is fine, but that's kind of, I think, what happened. But on top of that, in terms of like the white people being upset or the white male, gamer being upset, in the clip that we just watched.
I mean, it goes back to I swear there was a thing like the first time round on GamerGate. Wasn't there some study done where basically they said that 52% of gamers were women or something? It was something like that, where the majority of gamers were women. But when you actually looked into the study, the majority of women who responded were like mobile gamers. They played Candy Crush. And it's like, yeah, so if you define gamers like that, then yeah, sure, they are the majority. But that's not really what we're talking about. It's like a different market.
In that same talk, that woman talks about how she literally says that, there's too many white male gamers who are crying. She uses, and I'll see if I can actually find the slide here. She has like like a little picture of someone from The Simpsons crying about like not wanting to eat their vegetables or something. And that's how she casts like white male gamers, because you know you're replacing their main character with someone who's not a white male. Oh, there it is. And like I don't know if this is intentional or just like living in a bubble. I think it's living in a bubble. The problem isn't, you know, white male gamers or white male nerds are not sitting around like, oh my God, how dare you have, you know, not a white male protagonist. That's not like, no one cares about that. It's either the replacing of characters that were pre-established and recasting them as a different gender or a different race, combined with the fact that there seems to be this attitude of, oh, well, we can't just have like a black person in this game. We have to have a black person in this game who's fighting against a system of racism against them that's being perpetuated by the status quo of evil white people. And that's really what's setting people off. It's not just, you know, the race swap or the gender swap.
So I'm actually very happy that we're back at the main conversation, because I did find that quote from the Kotaku article.
Okay, what was the quote you
So
wanted to
here's the thing. This is why everyone got really mad at this article, because this exact same person that was in the clip, this is Kim Belair, the same person in the Kotaku article said, Sweet Baby is at its core a narrative development company. That means anything from script writing to narrative design to narrative direction to story reviews. One of the things we do offer is cultural consultations or authenticity consultations. For us, that generally means that we might be asked to look at a story if there's a character in it who is marginalized in a certain way, and the studio wants us to connect them with a consultant who can bring in authenticity. But the perspective is never that we're coming in and injecting diversity. For the most part, it's the reverse. It's that a company has created a character and they want to make that character more representative and more interesting. So the line that she puts forward in this article is that this is something that...
Yo, thank you for the raid, J-Stalk. Jesus, it's I've been going for a while if you're raiding into me. Okay, thank you for the raid. We're watching Brianna Wu talk to Adam and Sitch about what's being called GamerGate 2. Sweet Baby Inc. controversy. It's pretty disgusting. It's pretty wretched. If you hate Brianna Wu, you'll love it here, but you're a bunch of jizz, so we might hit or miss. We'll see.
companies want, right? However, the clip that we watched was her saying, go to your marketing department and tell them what kind of a shit show you'll have if you don't hire us. And that's what happened, basically, is that this article came out, this clip went viral, and people realized that the two positions don't really mesh together.
I agree.
How does more representative just not mean more stereotypical?
I mean, that is the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a giant problem.
Yeah. It's like, how, so you have a black character. Make him more representative. Well, they're already black. What do you do? Like, you make him hood? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, make him more
make any sense.
stereotypical. Like, it's so offensive. It like throws in the garbage everything that we've worked for.
So I want to talk about something towards the end of this article, just to try to bring a little bit of balance here, because I think this speaks to extremism. And
wait, is this guy like retarded? I feel like this is like Adam has consistently the worst engagement with all these topics. It's fucking insane. I feel like we can like with earlier when he said, "Oh, is everything political?" I don't think the movie Step Brothers is very political. Like with that, it's the same thing again. I feel like we can engage a little bit more honestly with the sentiment here. The point is that there are cultural things that maybe minorities or ethnic groups go through that white people wouldn't have the context for and may not be able to write around. So if they wanted to have someone who, say, grew up in like Compton, it might be good to speak to someone from Compton about what it's like in Compton. That's the point, right? I don't know. But Adam consistently, every fucking time, when it's perfectly reasonable to make criticisms of some of this stuff, he has the worst engagement, the most blunt, ham-fisted engagement. It's crazy. Well, they were talking about bringing in cultural advisors and shit like that, and Adam said, well, doesn't that fly in the face of all of it? Doesn't what? So you want to make black stereotypes out of every character? It's like, no, that's not the point, retard.
And, Sitch, I would love to hear you take this on directly. We're at the very end of this. And, full disclosure here, I think a fair critique of this writer based on their Twitter statements might be that they're not like a balls and strikes straight down the middle, just gonna call it like I see it kind of person, right?
Just so the chat knows, what she said on Twitter was you can't be racist against
women. Gremley cried his fucking eyes out for like 4 days straight on stream as well because Chud fucking said that, what was it? He read a $5 super chat telling Adam to shut up, and Adam literally cried about it for a straight week. Was on stream saying how disrespectful it was of Chud to not shut off his stream before going on EFAP.
white people.
Okay, so for many reasons.
I'm sorry. This is the author of the article.
The author of the article, basically.
Yeah.
So
she went viral for that. Yeah.
She went and interviewed the devs at Sweet Baby Inc. And
I
then
don't have that
got some
clip.
quotes for them, and then the piece
got
ends with her going back and saying, "Well, here's what." And going back to the Sweet Baby Inc. Discord and saying, "Here's what they do: A, B, and C. Does this change your opinion on anything?" And being confronted with this new information, from the way she tells in the article, they completely blow past it. They disregard it.
It is a doomer moment, absolutely.
And minds 100%. Have not been changed here. And I do want to say respectfully, this feels like a very, very familiar pattern, right? Like you're looking for a monster and you go and find one, and nothing is going to change your mind. I think, Adam, this is why, like with the banking situation, I do think it's important to take time to read stuff, to make up your mind, and to really think through it fairly. We all need the ability to change our mind like that.
No, I mean, I agree. I think it's pretty obvious.
I saw Duma Media announced his sequel to Vosh is Unironically Evil. I saw that earlier. That's exciting, isn't it, guys? Can't wait.
There is a cultural bias that the left has a lot of, like, massive amounts of cultural power now, and I just see people on the left kind of denying it. Even in your situation, because you're kind of in a rare situation now where you're constantly being attacked for calling out the far left on.
Okay, Hong Kong saying, "Oh, I see your point, but this is in context of Sweet Baby being the consultants, not a gang member from Compton." But the point was that the quote they read out from Sweet Baby was them saying that as consultants, they can put you in contact with someone who has those experiences. That was like in the quote that they read
on Twitter. And look, I admire you for that.
Thank
but
you.
I think we probably would agree that the modus operandi for the people coming at you is to categorize you as a right winger, so that they can.
So it wasn't really
characterize
engaging
you.
with it.
Yeah, so that they can characterize you as a right winger. They know that the right wing is culturally
I get your point
very
as well,
powerless right now, and that you can eventually be debanked. Like, that's the strategy.
Yeah, no, I think that's really perceptive. If they believe I'm a right winger, they can disregard.
They can do
everything
anything
I have
to
to say.
you.
Yeah, I think that's well said.
This is the ontologically evil meme. You guys have seen that going around, right?
Well, I know
the,
it. Yeah,
the older memes.
Yeah,
But-
it's older meme, but it still checks out. Yeah,
It still checks out.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
see, but-
basically, the idea is like, if you ever talk to somebody who's very, ideologically in one direction, they'll say, well, of course I'm going to do good things because good things are good. And you can do bad things to bad people because they're bad. Like, it's that sort of thing, right? Where it's like, I remember, this is an example from the right wing. I was talking to a right winger about negotiating a deal on the whole border wall situation, right? And it's like, and apparently, like, there was some sort of, I don't, you guys know the story better than me, I'm sure, but there was a bit like a bipartisan bill that just died, and it had some funding for patrolling the border, right?
Yeah.
And the idea was that the Republicans were going to get their border funding, and the Democrats were going to get something else in exchange. And I was talking to somebody on Twitter a few months ago who was very far right, and he said, well, why should we have to negotiate that? Because why should we negotiate? Because very clearly what the Democrats want is bad, and what we want is good. So if we negotiate with bad people, then we will get more bad than we should have if we just did our thing. And it's like, okay, I've seen left wingers say the exact same thing, where it's like, if your politics contains all of the good and your enemy's politics contains all of the bad.
Sweet Baby Inc. is a Canadian company, so already not a good sign based.
Well, then there is no reason to ever negotiate with them. You might as well just kill them.
You won, dude.
Right.
You won.
Well, also that's double funny because the quote, the thing the left got that they wanted, Biden obviously wants to fix the border because I think it's going to destroy his ability to win the election if he doesn't, but was the funding for Ukraine and I guess also Israel was supposed to be the thing the left wanted. And it was the right, the Republicans, that said that they weren't going to push, I think, for funding Ukraine anymore until they fix the border. So they were the ones asking for those things to be tied together. It wasn't the Democrats. So the person you're talking to is doubly uninformed too.
So can I take just a second and respond to one of your super chats for $400? Because I have a lot to say.
Oh my
God.
Oh my God,
J-Mac,
J-Mac.
Surrogate
my
father,
fault.
J-Mac, thank you so much for the $400. Let me read it and then you can respond, Brie.
Yeah.
Uh,
Bring me
J-Mac,
all the
That's
Woo
not,
bucks
wait,
this
that's
week.
not J-Mac, J-Mac, is it?
Anymore. It's supposed to be the thing that
Come on
that's
now.
where it's like more cooking this border, right?
Yeah.
And the idea
No,
was
it's a
that
different
enemy's
J-Mac. It's a
evil, and your
different
enemy's
J-Mac.
politics contains all of the bad.
to win the election if he doesn't. But was the funding for Ukraine and I guess also Israel was supposed to be the thing the left wanted. And it was the
Can I
right,
send
the Republicans that
$400?
said
Yes,
that they weren't going to
100%,
push, I think, for
absolutely,
funding
yes.
Ukraine anymore until they fix the border. So they were the ones asking for those things to be tied together. It wasn't the Democrats. So the person you're talking to is doubly uninformed too.
So can I take just a second and respond to one of your super chats for $400? Because I have a lot to say.
Oh my God.
That's
Oh my God,
J-Mac,
J-Mac.
400.
Surrogate
I'm right wing, guys. I'm admitting it. I'm admitting it now. I'm right wing. I am. I admit it. Feel free to super chat anytime. It's okay, guys. It's okay. I'll wait.
Father J-Mac, thank you so much for the $400. Let me read it and then you can respond, Brie.
Yeah. Bring me all
J-Mac,
the Woo bucks this week.
there you
Yeah,
go.
well, hold
Listen,
on. And before you go, we have to address the Aiden Paladin stuff. Obviously,
Oh,
we've
sure.
been
Let's do
wrongly
it.
accused.
Well, no, we need a
Fucking
raise. We need a raise,
Aiden
but we'll talk about
Paladin,
that later.
dude.
J-Mac for $400.
Never mind. I'm not right wing.
Actual-
Never mind. I'm not
Oh,
right
yeah,
wing. I'll
exactly.
Take it back.
Says, for a lot of
I
us
forgot Aiden
nerds,
Paladin
gaming was just a
exists.
hobby. It was a sanctuary from our shitty lives. It was a way for us to take control, meet like-minded people, and keep us sane. Then people we viewed as outsiders come in and tell us that we were the ones that were unaccepting, and previous gaming outlets all of a sudden agreed. Yeah, I think that's I mean, I agree with that, and I think that's definitely what a lot of gamers felt like in 2014, and that's why so many
Sure.
people got very defensive and angry at the GamerGate stuff.
But J-Mac, I really want you to try hear me here. I feel the exact same way you do. I was a deeply, deeply isolated, lonely kid in Mississippi. Everyone around me was obsessed with church and football and who was dating who. And the only thing that kept me sane was video games. I'm not exaggerating when I say from like 5 years old until 15, I really just stayed in my room and hid from everyone and played video games. I find so much power in like characters like Terra and Celeste, like when they're trying to find themselves in Final Fantasy VI, that story matters to me. And I really hear what you're talking about. And that's why I hear what you're saying when you say you want those institutions to respect you. I hope you can see the same humanity in me when I say I wanted to feel like games saw me too, right? So the answer here isn't you're right and I'm wrong, or I'm wrong and you're right. It's that like this is a big industry. We can make a lot of different games that speak to different people. You know, Dev, you have a really good video on Stellar Blade. I love porny games with a hot female protagonist. It's my guilty
We know
pleasure.
you made one.
You know, they can make games like that. If you don't like it, you don't have to play it. What I object to in the marketplace is I think that we have a problem when so few people that don't fit a very narrow box make it into senior leadership or get to decide what kind of games get made. I think it has consequences like that just filter through the whole industry and make games bad. And I'm not even talking about diversity. I'm talking about like gameplay choices, right? I think all of us would look at the video game industry right now and say, it's not working. It's putting out garbage product and they are meeting like the financial fate that they deserve in many cases. So I hope you can see, like, I love games exactly as much as she does.
Chris Blettis says, more like she made herself into one. Okay, I don't know what you mean by that, but I disavow strongly, and I'm shaking my head about how terrible that is and how untrue it is, because surely no one would ever do that.
Isn't your position kind of the pro GamerGate side, though? It seems like the GamerGate people were saying that these video games are problematic because they create negative stereotypes of women. So they're saying, look, these games need to be removed.
You
from
do
the
not
marketplace.
mean there's
My
okay.
focus during GamerGate was on harassment.
Right.
It was about hiring policy in the industry. That was Anita Sarkeesian's bag, and you know, I did not strongly agree with that back then, and I don't strongly agree with it now.
Right, but so because what Jay is talking about it is, you know, I don't think a lot of people would have had that much of a problem in 2014 and later if the idea was, hey, let's have more female protagonists or representation. When it was,
you're wrong. You're flat out wrong.
Well, but wait. The problem is like, is when Anita, you know, bring up her videos, you know, before GamerGate and the stuff after GamerGate, it was all it wasn't just like we need more women. It was like we need more women because men are horrible sexists and white people.
Well, it's
like it was always
grades.
Yeah, like it was always kind of like combined. I think that was what a lot of people were reacting to.
It's rough out here.
I remember when Far Cry 2 came out, which is one of my very favorite games. Far Cry 2 is probably the best in the entire series. It's not
3?
graphically. 3 is great and Blood Dragon is great, but 2 was really a breakthrough. And I remember talking on the IGN boards about how frustrated I was that you couldn't be, they didn't have a woman protagonist in this game because you got to choose. And I got BTFO'd on the IGN board for that.
Oh, thank you for the raid, Reservoir. Welcome, Reservoir Raiders. We are watching Brianna Wu talk to Adam and Sitch about GamerGate 2, aka the Sweet Baby Inc. controversy. Thank you. Welcome.
That was just a constant for talking about, like, I would like to have this option in this game. Right. So I don't agree with you there.
Well, I mean, okay. Yeah. If you don't agree with that, but I would assume you'd agree that there definitely would have been significant, like it would have been smart and probably more moral if the position of people on the left at the time were like, hey, let's be more inclusive, as opposed to, hey, let's be more inclusive and fuck you, whitey, right?
I can say the reason I focused on what I did was because of that reason. Okay. But
so do you think, so even in 2014, you felt like there was too much animosity towards white people and men in those spaces?
I thought that Anita Sarkeesian was ultimately an academic, and I understood the points of view she was making in the video. I thought they were well thought out.
No, they weren't.
Privately thought it was not a way that was going to bring about positive change to the industry, because critiquing the output of the industry does not really get to the core of the
Anita was literally like using other people's gameplay footage. Had never played these games herself and was making just straight up incorrect statements about the mechanics of these games. They were not well thought out. What is this retard talking about? It's so desperate, such cope. We weren't actually that bad. No, you were. No, you were. You actually were that bad. But have you considered that, well, you know, Brianna did grow up in the South, all right? That is something to consider. She did grow up in the South. I don't know why I would consider that, but I'm considering it.
Problem. To me, the problem is the hiring discrimination that hires within the industry. So that's why I focused on that.
Yeah, but like with Anita, to me, it's not just like the output that I would imagine have a difference. It's like she believes in a very radical critical theory based version of feminism in terms of the ideology that she's pushing. And that ideology kind of informs her whole worldview. And unfortunately, I think that's the ideology that's crept into a lot of these diversity spaces.
Yeah.
So I think that's the problem, is you have to combat this idea, this toxic ideology that's kind of using this idea of we need more women and minorities in these spaces as kind of like a mask to sneak in its other horrible shit. Like, you know, this woman that wrote this article that we're talking about, the Kotaku article for Sweet Baby, Allison Mercante, Freudian slip. The fact that she wrote on Twitter recently that you can't be racist against white people and still has a job at Kotaku, to me is insane. Like that's one of the most. That's the most was true. But to me, that's like when people say you can't be racist against white people, that's really only used to justify racism against white people. And it's just an insane thing that I can't imagine the right wing equivalent, kind of going back to what you're saying, I can't imagine the right wing equivalent of that flying, you know, and that person not getting canceled.
Of course, yeah.
I don't know.
To be fair,
That's
she
re-
is
yeah.
receiving more blowback for this sort of nonsense than the crazier people 10 years ago did. So
Oh,
things are
yeah.
shifting, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I said this multiple times on the show. The winds are shifting. I think wokeness is definitely going on the decline instead of the on the upward swing. I think a lot of this is because of Israel, and people are like, "Holy shit, these people are crazy." And also, people are just kind of like sick of it because it's
Yeah.
very draining. It's been like
Okay,
10 years.
Guys,
Yeah, well,
guys.
so-
What's
go ahead.
where are we at? What's the red pill meter on Brianna Wu now? Are we at like 65%, 75%? What do you, Sitch? What's your take?
I'm gonna give
She's
it
our
50%.
guy.
Okay.
It's 50-50.
She's our
okay.
guy. She's like one of the based ones. She's one of the good ones, guys. She's like on our team now, guys.
I mean, that's a coin toss. It's not even
full-
better than
yes.
Full
random.
centrist. Yeah. People,
Anyway, I'm gonna give her 65%. I think. Look, this whole
God.
October 7th thing has kind of woken her up a bit. Ironically, woken her up.
There you go.
When we get
So,
to the
you wanna
part
weigh
of
in,
the
Dev?
election where we're criticizing Trump nonstop, I think you'll find that number go down. a
When
bit.
you're criticizing Trump, well, look, criticizing Trump is fine. That doesn't really weigh in on the red pill / woke meter.
Well, I guess
for
what do
me.
you mean by
Yeah.
red pill, Adam? Because everyone's gonna
Yeah.
interpret that a little differently. But
Well, she's waking up to the fact that there's this double standard, this cultural imbalance. Like a lot of people on the left won't even come close to admitting that the left has cultural power. They want to act like, oh, look, we're so subjugated by everyone. The right controls everything.
Mhm.
When it's just it's a fictitious read of reality. Like they think the media is all right wing. They believe in the duopoly. The you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, of
Anyway, Dev,
it's all capitalist. That's why.
Dev, where are you at?
Well-
give Brianna a rating.
A rating on how
a
red
red pill
pill.
rating.
Yeah.
I'm so
Oh,
glad Brenna
Jesus.
was one of
Like
the good ones now.
25%.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
a long way to
thank
go.
you.
God.
Thank you.
There's a long way to
Thank
go.
you.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
thank you.
Okay. So you're saying you're
Specify.
pretty much completely in the dark, which that's not a compliment. I don't know why you're thinking it, but
Well, no. Listen, if you're 100% red pill, you're also pretty retarded. So don't worry.
Well, that's what I said. I think everyone in this conversation is using a completely different definition of red pill.
different
so I don't-
definition of red pill.
Right.
Look, I'm not talking about the, you go out and get your 15 different thoughts.
You're not talking about the Andrew Tate red pill.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the Andrew Tate
bodies
version of red
online
pill.
and you take their money. Yeah.
Yes,
This
yes.
is like
I
a
was
white
talking
boy
more of
swag
like the Jonathan
conversation.
Haidt type of red pill.
We ain't talking about that
understanding
Trump
there
kind of
are
white
these-
boy
these
swag.
that there are two movies that people see and kind of being able to see both movies accurately, which when you first started coming on, Brianna, I'd
Scallywag
say
super
you really
chatted
didn't have any
$3.26, $5 from Scallywag. Represent the black hating community from the center left. You
Thank
don't
you,
need to change your
Scallywag.
politics to be racist. Smiley face.
Thank you, Scallywag, for the 5 Australian.
conservative perspective at all, but I feel like you have kind of opened up to that. Conservatives are not just evil people.
I've never thought conservatives are just evil people.
Right. Well, I conceptualize progressives and conservatives as both necessary parts of a system. Like the progressives are basically the offense of society. They're out there looking for opportunities that might be missed, and conservatives are worried about the gains in society that we've already achieved. They don't want to lose those gains. So I do think, like any sports team, you need an effective offense and defense. A lot of people, they don't see it that way. They have this Manichaean view of the world where conservatives and progressives are at war, and one will annihilate the other. And I don't think that's a healthy way to look at it. So when I think of somebody that's red-pilled, I think of somebody kind of in the Jonathan Haidt sense. They understand that both of these factions serve a valuable purpose in society, and they're really not trying to annihilate the other side.
So
Makes sense to me.
They're trying to use the other side effectively. So
since you only
Go
have
ahead,
45 minutes
Dev.
left, if there's anything else to talk about this, we can talk about it. But I do know that you have super chats for us.
yeah, let's
I know,
go.
someone in the chat wants me to talk about the blood money. I mean, that's just a theory.
Money?
Well, no, I guess
Yeah.
look, the Aiden Paladin thing. Like
That
Aiden
wasn't the
Paladin
thing,
is
but
like
there's something,
No,
Aiden
no,
Paladin
blood
is
money's
coming out
different.
of
It's something different.
Aiden Paladin is coming out of strong.
Oh
She
my
thinks
God,
like
shut up
we're
about Aiden
on the
Paladin.
Brianna Wu,
Oh my
like
God.
you're writing us monthly checks or something to come out and shill for the
Oh,
Democratic
yeah,
How
Party.
does she
Brianna Wu pays
So-
for
know?
everyone.
How does she know?
Look, you're gonna throw us under the bus. Look, Brianna she's lying right now. That's not true.
No, listen. The real reason we brought Brianna on and Dev on the same time is because we want to renegotiate the amount that she pays us. Because I don't think
Oh,
it's
look at
enough for the
this.
service. that we're
Everybody,
doing.
look, everybody's going to think that Aiden is not going to know that you're being sarcastic right now. This is going to get us in bigger trouble.
Oh my
Sitch,
God,
I tell you
have
what,
to
you
pay
come over
9
to the
cards,
Casa de
5
Vu, you can
cards,
look at one of my
3 times.
Porsches. You can
Oh, look
grab
at
the
this!
keys,
I got a
okay?
car.
Whichever
Okay,
one
I'm
you
on
want.
board. I'm on board.
Maybe not my Cayman, because that's my track toy. That's my really
Okay.
expensive.
I hate
So
this.
how far up
I mean,
Biden's
I'm
ass
feeling
does
sick.
Sitch have to get to actually get the Porsche? That's what I want to know.
Yes, that's true.
This is
Like what?
disgusting.
Well, look, you're shilling for the Democratic Party, right? You want to get Biden. How do you do you care if Biden gets substituted out for somebody else? Like, what is your
I
take
can
on
make
that?
my job a lot easier.
Right.
Look, I'm ultimately a hired gun. I do what I'm asked to do.
Yeah, we know, 'cause you got Trent
so,
Lott.
Biden's
You
a nominee.
fucking
I'll go with that. I'm not going to lie and
skinwalker.
tell you his age is not a problem, because it is. And it's really disturbing to see people try to pretend it's not.
Yeah, I think he's going to get subbed out, but
I
you know.
think it's unlikely, but
Okay, we'll see. I mean, when Trump is polling double digits ahead of him, and like he nosedives after the first debate, well,
Well, I don't. It depends when the first. It could be too late depending on the timeline.
yeah, if the first debate goes off, it's definitely too late. But we'll see
Right.
what happens after the convention.
So people in the chat,
yeah, go ahead. Tom.
people in the chat are asking what the story is. So I think the TLDR is that the organization you were working with, Brianna, was paying some streamers, but it was all above board. People thought it wasn't, basically.
Yep.
And like I know that Wick got some flack for it, but Wick said, no, I've told everyone this is public. I'm getting paid for this.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Aiden spun that into Adam and Sitch are getting paid.
So wait, okay. Because I don't even know.
Sometimes.
I don't even know the whole pay. So who
Wait,
was
was
getting
that
paid and
SFOs
what were
getting
people getting
paid?
paid for? What is this even about?
And I think
Debate. Well,
I don't. It depends when the first. It could be too late depending on the timeline.
yeah, if the first debate goes off, it's definitely too late. But we'll see
Right.
what happens
What?
after the convention.
so. People in the chat.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, people in the chat are asking what the story is. So I think the TLDR is that the organization you were working with, Brianna, was paying some streamers, but it was all above board. People thought it wasn't, basically.
Yep.
And like I know that Wick got some flack for it, but Wick said, no, I've told everyone this is public. I'm getting paid for this.
Yeah.
And for some reason,
That's
Aiden
not true. That's not true. That's just not true. Oh, no, SFO's not getting paid. Okay, he was quoting Wick. He was quoting Wick. I'm with him. But that's still wrong. He's still totally falsely recounting that. He said one time when Sunday pressed him, yes, I get paid by Brianna Wu. One time when Sunday pressed him. Because he was directly defending Brianna Wu from the group chat leaks. And he hadn't mentioned it before.
Food Shops super chatted $4.99. $4.99 from Food Shops. Can't watch this Semitic idolatry. See you, buddy. Victory hand.
Thank you for the $4.99 Food Shops. Best Lego set, Star Destroyer.
spun that into Adam and Sitch are getting paid.
So wait, okay. Because I don't even know.
Sometimes.
I don't even know the whole pay. So who was getting paid and what were people getting paid for?
I love that Ghetto 2 man. It's like he's still with us. It's like he's still with us.
Basically, when I was working with Progressive Victory, there was basically there's a problem on the left that everyone spends so much time chasing their tails that there's a real need for leadership and for people to come together and to kind of decide what stories are important and to kind of like bring everyone together to chase like one car down the street rather than 500 different cars. So basically people were paid a fee to basically sit on a leadership committee and talk about the major stories for the week. And we would sit there and figure out what was important, what the good strong messaging would be. And we would like look at clips that people had put out that we thought resonated with the core values of the organization, and we would help promote them. So 100% above board, very normal. I hate to break it to y'all, this is happening on Twitch, TikTok a trillion times worse. Yeah, this is politics.
Everyone knows, dude, but it's about the fucking streamers that we watch, retard.
Okay, and like everyone knew it was like a big secret thing. It was all.
It wasn't. No,
I didn't tell anyone if they needed to say if they were doing it or not. It's their choice to make how they run their own careers and what they want to say.
But the accusation.
I know that. Well, hold on, because I know that Wick made it public. Wick made it public. I don't know anybody else who's involved with it though, so I don't know.
Yeah,
that's not quite accurate, is it? That's not quite accurate. Sunday pressed him. So I said, "You're being paid by Brianna Wu. Why are you chiming in on this?" He said, "Well, yeah, I'm being paid by Brianna Wu. I don't have to change my opinion." And that was the one time he mentioned it. That was the one time.
Just real quick, the accusation with us that Aiden was making was that our content is too pro Biden, and therefore she suspects that we're getting paid by you. Would you say that our content? Would you pay us for our content, Brianna? Would you say?
I think at the end of the day,
as if I was terrified of Sunday, is that true?
Democracy. So I never reached out to you because I don't know if there's enough political alignment there. But I would consider
this is great.
Just for what Progressive Victory was doing.
Wait, no,
my career goes on there doing other things.
Cab or something. They're both in Canada. I will pay for Sunday to reach us.
I don't think it's impossible. We would work together at some point, but like my instinct is probably you guys would say no. So.
Well, look, you obviously don't know Sitch very well because Sitch would definitely say
Exchange logo stream.
Anyone can pay me to say anything. Okay.
As long as,
do you really feel that way?
No, I'm just talking.
Yeah.
Well, look, as long as it was disclosed.
The Jew allegations.
It's true. No, Adam is just saying that because I said if someone to pay me $100,000 to wear a dress on stream, I'd do it, and Adam refused. But
here's the thing. I feel really strongly about this. I would never, ever, ever ask someone to say something publicly that they don't believe in. What I try to do is bring people together that share common beliefs. And I would hope everyone on the stream today believes in democracy, believes in the rule of law, and wants like the United States to continue, like no matter who wins, right?
Well, except for Dev because he's Canadian, so he doesn't count.
Yeah, but Dev is a liberal in the traditional sense, right?
Sure.
I try to bring people together on values and to accomplish big goals together. And I think one of the things I'm good at is
directional
working with people
big
when we
goals.
don't agree on everything. Something I would note I was not good at 10 years ago. So I'm always looking to like move in a direction that gets things done with people, especially on public policy.
Right. No, and I agree that that's the way it normally works. Like you don't approach somebody and tell them to change your entire belief system. You approach somebody who has the belief system that you already want, and you say, "Look, let me just make it easier for you to get that belief system out there." Look, and
I wouldn't say that's so surely.
But as soon as money is involved, everybody's always they're going to say like, "You're a shill. You don't really believe that. You're just doing it to get paid." I mean, that's standard pushback to that system anyway.
So,
So,
the accusation of you paying us, it was like this. It was from Aiden and Spoon watching our conversation with Carl about liberalism. Our third conversation I think we've had with him about liberalism, because we're both still in favor of liberalism, I guess. And Aiden and Spoon are not. They're kind of on the Mencius Moldbug. My understanding, I don't want to mischaracterize their positions. My understanding is they're kind of on the Mencius Moldbug monarchist train. And I don't know where Aiden is, but Spoon is kind of in this like mirror position of the communists, where basically anyone who's not a monarchist is like a far left winger, which is stupid and insane. And I actually on Twitter we had an interaction where I challenged him. I said, "Can you name one position? You're accusing me of getting a payoff here because you're saying that since I started doing YouTube, I've like moved so much further to the left. Can you like give me one example of one position that I've moved further to the left on since starting YouTube?" And he failed to do anything, regarding any of that. So I mean, the whole thing is just obviously goofy nonsense. It's just like a funny game, but.
Well,
oh, go ahead, Devin. I apologize.
But just real quick, the whole thing with those two is that they are a blend of libertarianism and monarchism, which sounds retarded to Americans, but there is something to it. We're basically like, if the government is private property, then being a monarchy is like being a property owner. Like being a monarch is like being a monarch. Sorry, is like being a property owner. So they kind of blend in. They kind of blend through capitalism.
It's Final Fantasy VII. We were just talking about it. Shinra is literally the system that they're talking about. So,
yeah. So, but basically, all libertarians, whether they're left libertarians or right libertarians, they kind of have the same problem where they believe that any facts that come from, let's say, a normal source, or they come from the system, they are the product of power, not the product of truth, right? So, like, why should I believe the government on anything? Because the government has its own agenda. It's not, it does have a moral direction, right? It wants certain things, and so anything that comes from the government, we should not believe. That's what all stripes libertarians tend to say about this sort of thing. So when they look
nobody cares about your fucking dry political theory.
A larger part of that stream, and they also accuse me of it, but like it was only.
Sorry, I should say nobody. I'm sure people do care. I don't care.
Of taking the Brianna Wu bucks, but basically the idea was, because Brianna Wu works for the Democratic Party, Wu bucks, right? It wants certain things, and so anything that comes from the government, we should not believe. That's what all stripes libertarians tend to say about this sort of thing. So when they look at, so I watched that a larger part of that stream, and they also accused me of it, but like it was only Spoon, and it was like 10% of the accusation was Dev, 90% of it was YouTube, of taking the Brianna Wu bucks, but basically the idea was, because Brianna Wu works for the Democratic Party, then like anyone who's promoting her, and also because we know that some money has changed hands, anyone who's promoting her must also be getting paid. And if they say no, well, of course they would lie about it, because they are the products of power, right? It is the power before truth calculation that all libertarians fall to, whether they're left.
Yeah, but I said that she was paying us repeatedly.
Well,
I beat the system.
You beat the system by just admitting it when it wasn't happening.
Speaking of Mr. Ubercross, our lawyer for $20, he said, "I have your last monthly check held in escrow, but Brianna won't let me release it due to your lack of advocating for communism. I've tried negotiating, but her team won't budge."
Wow.
I do love communism. If I could say something for just a quick second. Yeah, I'm looking at chat coming by, and I want to hit something really head on, and I want to tell you why I feel this way. There's not a lot that makes me mad, but it does make me angry when people question my integrity and, say things like, "Oh, you're only saying that because you're trying to win the audience over, or you don't really believe that, or progressives are losing power." Yeah, I really take a lot of pride in trying to express
she must be
how
really
I feel,
angry all the time,
thoughtfully and with honesty. And from my point of view, I need you to understand. Like, I grew up queer in Mississippi, where just being myself was really, really hard.
Bingo cards, take a drink, whichever one. Holy fuck! Grew up queer in Mississippi. Get me out, dude. She's actually like a broken record. It's insane.
Owned me when I came out. So being myself and expressing myself authentically is something that's really fucking important to me. And there's nobody that tells me what to say. I don't pretend to have opinions that
she's sitting there saying, "Oh, I really hate when people question my integrity and say that, I don't mean the things I say," as she launched into a rehearsed speech that everyone who's heard her speak for an extended period of time has heard at some point before, or some variation of before. Okay, cool.
I don't have. What I do try to be is thoughtful. And as I have grown as a person and have kind of dealt emotionally with some of the things that have happened to me, I can kind of look at things with more distance and with a little bit more sophistication. So like, if my views are changing and evolving as time marches on, I think this is a good quality. And I think the fact that I'm at DEF CON 5 every fucking day on my Twitter with these communist nut jobs that are pro-terrorist, I
thought DEF CON 5 was the lowest one.
That's strong evidence for my integrity. Now, some of you want to see me in the absolute worst light possible, and I can't do anything about that. But I can say you're fucking wrong about me.
I think regarding the,
especially regarding she's so dumb.
Stuff, like people are saying this with like Hunter Avalon too, when he kind of like switched teams, and obviously you haven't done that to that extent, but people are like accusing him of being a grifter.
Oh,
It just,
man.
I don't. It seems like almost everyone loses money in audience when they start attacking their own side or switching teams. Almost always recently, so I don't really understand the accusation from that.
Yeah, just like Kanye
Yeah.
said.
that someone is like, oh well, something's becoming like. I guess actually no, there's someone who is gained a lot from that. Is what's the guy's name? It was the guy Hinkle, who was like very right wing and now he's a communist. So I guess actually that did work out for
Jackson,
Hinkle. Yeah. So never mind, I take it back. I guess Jackson just succeeded there, but I think you have to go from one
thought he
extreme to the
wasn't-
other.
I think he
the
was
problem
always
is when
a-
people go from like a
wasn't he
more extreme to a more
progressive?
centrist position that they just kind of piss off everyone.
Yeah, I think that's what's
And
happening.
so that seems to not be like the winning financial strategy. But
So with 38 minutes, I know that there's some decent questions in the super chat. Should we do them?
Yeah, let's
sure.
do them.
Do you have those decent
look at
questions,
you.
Dev? Or are you waiting?
Dev
for me?
actually being mindful of time and super chats.
Yeah,
It's impressive.
I know what's going on. So.
Did
My
you
parents
see-
did not give me money to found my game studio. That is not true. That is
That's
not
Artemis
true.
Fowl.
No, it was the
Artemis Fowl.
animation
He
studio.
might-
It was
he
the
might be mixing up
animation
old lore
studio.
because
Yes, he
I know
is.
that we had dug up at one point during GamerGate that Zoe Quinn actually came from some money. Maybe he's mixing up old lore.
Okay. Artemis Fowl was asking if your parents gave you money to start your game development company. You're saying no. That didn't
No.
happen. Okay.
How do you have so many Porsches? Is that like
It was.
DNC
It was.
money?
What, see, why would you not mention? Why would you not clarify that it was the animation studio? Unless you're trying to obfuscate it.
The reality of how I got my Porsches is I grew up in Mississippi and I know a lot about
Oh my
repairing trashed
God.
cars, and I buy trashed
Dude.
Porsches. And my way of spending a weekend, because so much of my job is talking,
We got
is
it
shutting the fuck
twice
up and
in
going
like
down to my
3
garage
minutes.
and repairing them.
That's
and I've
crazy.
turned
This is a new
like
record.
extremely trashed Porsches into extremely valuable Porsches by spending all day sandblasting the wheels and getting them powder coated, or redoing the electrical system, or redoing the suspension. That's my hobby. And,
Wow.
You know,
You know
I think it's a
electrical. I'm
cool hobby.
impressed.
I mean, yeah, I've heard of a
Wow,
guy.
I'm
who worked
impressed.
At a, worked at a, I don't know if it was Porsche, but it was some sort of supercar. Some sort of company making supercars. He worked in a factory, and basically over the course of 10 years, he would just bring home one part and then eventually build a whole car.
Nice.
Well, there you go.
That's
That's it.
awesome.
Yeah. And actually, real quick, Shoe on Head in the chat says, an easy way to spot an actual grifter is if they literally never piss off their own audience. That is 100,000% true. Okay,
Very
so
true.
this time last year, I lost like 5,000 subs for a take that a lot of people didn't like, and it temporarily was like it was trending on Twitter for a weekend. And it's like, you know what? Yes. So like, I don't understand.
What was the take? Let's see if we can get another 5,000.
No.
Tell me privately.
Sure.
Sure. JMac, our circuit
Yeah.
father, for another $60. Thank you so much. Jay says, kind of regarding the previous thing, but the issue where these people were saying that games needed to change and that the old games, the ones we loved, were flawed on a moral level, and we were flawed for liking them, plus tons of respect to you, Wu, for having these discussions. I'm fine with Wu not being red-pilled, but at least engaging with these ideas. We don't all have to agree on everything, just agree on our love for games.
I agree.
Look at that.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And also, JMac from $10 says, Wu, as a lover of cars, I want to show you pictures of my G-Pass garage so bad. I feel like
Oh
you would
my
really appreciate them.
dude.
Send it to me on Twitter. We will totally
This
geek
is
out on cars. I
horrendous.
100%
This is
I
promise
don't
you.
even know what
Goodness.
a G-Pass garage even is.
I'm thinking about putting a PCC M Plus in my 96 Boxster, which is it'll be a fun project.
Right.
I know y'all
Bro, it's just the worst small talk you've ever heard.
don't know what that is, but it's cool.
Nope.
Trust me.
Andrew Clark Fortura says, so glad the sponsor could join today. Thank you. I don't know what this is in relation to. Vabango, give us $20. He says, does Brianna Wu believe that out-of-control public violence and cannibalism in Haiti can be fixed by raising the minimum wage?
No.
Okay. I don't even know. Okay. there
I
you
know.
go.
I know. Hades kind of a shit show right now.
I mean, I know what's going on in Haiti. I don't know what to do, but...
I support like the intervention with the Houthis. I think Obama was very good with Operation Infinite Resolve. I think we were good at dealing with the Somali pirates. Like
Mhm.
I want to see the United States take a more interventionist role in addressing issues like that. So I don't think the minimum wage would solve that.
They said Haiti, not... Yeah,
Oh, fair enough.
but yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't know what...
Nice one.
It's to me, it's kind of baffling that Biden has been seemingly so weak with the Houthis. So I think they should
He's
just pull the
bombing
shit
the hell
out.
out of them now.
Okay,
So,
good.
I
That's
love it.
good.
Yep.
Sella for $50. Thank you, Sella. Says, I remember during the ME3 controversy, the usual suspects
Is
like
it super chats the whole rest of the time?
Movie Blob said fans should shut up because calling for changing the ending was, quote, interfering in the creative process. Now we have Sweet Baby Inc. doing just that through extortion, no less.
Wow.
There you go.
There you go.
that-
Hitting.
That cringe, and Ronaldo Ramirez said that in relation to Alan Wake, they said they race swapped the woman that you were talking about, that she was white in the first game. They made her black in the second game.
Is that true? I don't know.
I don't know that either.
What's the name of the character? I guess I'll look it
I
up.
never played any of the Alan Wake games, so. Mithram 6 for 500 Kazarks, thank you. Says bringing people in to give you opinion on how a product is perceived has been done for decades using focus groups and test audiences. That's completely different from bringing in ideologues to critique your product from a very specific ideological angle. I think that's a good point.
I think that's fair. And that's a way it's different than like bringing in military experts to
Yes, like
evaluate
fact check stuff.
authenticity. Yeah.
Evil Bookman for 3 months says never forget Alec Holwick. How do you say that guy's name? Alec
Yeah.
Holwick.
Yeah, this is your bag if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, because you probably saw me talk about the
I did.
conspiracy on Side
Yeah.
Scholars. Yeah. I mean, there's probably something to it, but I don't know. I haven't done the full research. So here, TLDR. Here's what we absolutely know for a fact. All right. Zoe Quinn accused Alec
Still awake
Holwick
through
of
this,
raping her
barely.
back in
Yep.
2012. And she puts this accusation out in 2018 or 2019. 3 days later, the guy kills himself.
He got fired first, didn't he, from his job?
Yes, well, he owned the company, but nonetheless, the company still cut ties with him, even though he was the owner. They're like, listen, get the fuck out. We're not working with you. Like he retained ownership, but no one would work with him. And the board basically fired him, and he decided to just acquiesce and leave. And then yeah, he killed himself after 3 days. The current conspiracy that I think might have some legs, we just don't know. We just don't know enough yet. Is that basically the company that provided the funding for Sweet Baby Inc. to exist is a company also in Canada called Weird Ghosts. Weird Ghosts is run by Alec Olawaka's sister, and she is handing out a ton of money to a whole bunch of these narrative companies in Canada, like Sweet Baby Inc. And she seems to be getting this money out of nowhere because I dug up some stuff, and they don't seem to be a really rich family or anything. So it's like, where's the money coming from? And the only conclusion is that she actually mentions in a PDF back in 2021, where she's talking about like her like the design for her business, that she inherited Alec Olawaka's IPs and his company. And the one big hit that they had was the indie game Night in the Woods, which has like millions of sales under its belt. So people are thinking that, you know, Zoe Quinn bullies this guy to suicide, his sister inherits his company, and then starts using the money for Zoe Quinn's friends in the industry, which is just like, holy shit. Like that sounds like a dramatic tale right there. But the narrative is there's still a few holes in that theory that has to be filled in.
Well, I think it's probably impossible for it to be like intentionally played out in some way. Like, oh, I knew that if I, made an accusation, this person would commit suicide, and then their sister would get all their money. Like that's too many,
that's
right.
Yeah, I don't think there's a conspiracy here. They're like, they planned this out. Like, how do we get this guy's money? Well, I'll accuse him of rape, and then he'll kill himself, and then you inherit the money, and then you give it to me. Like, no, I don't think that's what happened. But it's the fact that it's all kind of the same group, and they all kind of have the same political ideology, and this guy just basically got run over by it.
Now, so much for Canadians being nice. So much for Canadians being nice. It's a fight to survive out there. What the fuck?
Leave a bad taste in your mouth.
Right. So I don't think it's a conspiracy.
Yeah,
go ahead. I don't think it's a conspiracy, but what I do think is pretty insipid is that to me, it's totally disgusting that if someone's, commits suicide and their sister takes, a bunch of money they inherit from them and they basically start giving it to like the cause that kind of got them to commit suicide. That seems kind of fucked up. Obviously,
yeah, bad taste in your mouth. Yeah.
So, Dev, I wanted to ask. So with the suicide situation, I genuinely cannot remember this. Weren't there some complications there? Like he was already suffering from extreme depression and suicidal ideation and stuff like that? Or am I just misremembering that because it was a decade ago?
No, that's true. Yeah,
I can't imagine why after his girlfriend cheated on him 5 times and then accused him of rape, and then he lost his job. Yeah, I can't imagine why.
Problems as well, but he was kind of managing them. But it seems like the false accusation pushed him over the edge. And by the way, we know now that it was false because DMs leaked later that showed that it was false. So Zoe Quinn just made this shit up to be relevant again.
So wait, because I didn't know about that. The DMs that leaked were showing that was
intentional. I don't know if it was 5 times.
Like what was? What did they say?
I don't think the DM said like, "Hey, I'm gonna accuse this guy to bump my career up." It was more of like one of those things where a person cries rape and then you see the conversations and like they consented in the conversation. You know what I mean? It's that
okay. Okay. I mean, it's hard to tell with Zoe because she seems like a very dishonest person.
She does,
yeah. So it's very all over the place. But
anything to say about that, Brianna?
Mark Twain's Revenge. Thank you for the 50 gift
comments, Brianna.
Thank you so much.
Woo! Look at that.
Very generous.
Comments.
RBGH Brianna? Fan for $20. Thank you. Says Brianna. Is it okay if a progressive is debanked for using a phrase like "from the river to the sea"? If the bank deems it is anti-Semitic.
The Eagle Nation is targeting.
I think they can set their own policies. That seems kind of anti-free speech. So, that would be my objection to it. Like, what's the right-wing equivalent? Like saying the South will rise again, I suppose. I think that would be an overreach. I think if you're out there strongly supporting terrorism like Hezbollah, I think that's kind of a materially different situation. But I wouldn't support it in that case.
Nokra123 for £50. Thank you. Says I haven't given you guys money in a while. Over 200 words. Okay, I can't figure out anything clever to ask. Well, thank you for the £50. Or 50 euros. I don't mean to insult you by calling you.
Yeah, thanks. That's very generous.
Joe the Make for $5 says, "Quote: Gamers are dead. Gamers don't have to be your audience." End quote. Nope, no disrespect whatsoever. The F on. Yeah, I mean, well, would you agree? Because the whole framing of it, like gamers are dead, like isn't that like what got every gamer upset? Is this like attack on gamers?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
From my point of view, that is when GamerGate turned from let's dig up these people's professional connections to try to find more corruption. That's when it turned into we fucking hate these people because now they're actually attacking us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Brianna Wu's accountant for $20 says, "Hey Bri, I lost your number, so I'm getting a hold of you here. When I'm writing the check to Sitch and Adam, do I address it to both of them, or are they on separate?"
Shut the fuck up.
I think Adam takes all the money and invests.
I'm gonna. Where's my kettle boiling? Something
through his car
wow,
that's right. It's been a secret. Brianna's been paying us for 10 years.
Yes. I got to answer this because it's in the chat 9 million times. Will Brianna play Stellar Blade? Hell yes! I cannot wait for this game to come out. I will play the hell out of it. Of course.
There you go. Stellar Blade's the one with the hot chick people were mad about.
Yeah.
Yes, and it looks great too.
It looks awesome. From my point of view, it's like Metal Gear Revengeance with like a cool woman protagonist. Like, sign me up. That sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Yeah, it's funny because like I feel like most women like to see hot women be like do things in movies and video games. Like I don't this whole weird contingency from like someone like the very far left, like we need to make all women unattractive in the games. Just that's just so detached from what like the average audience member, including women, want.
The first thing I do, and I don't think I'm alone when I make a character in a character creator, is I try to make the most beautiful thing I can. Right? It's,
there you go.
I have no issue with it. I mean, I do. And Dev, you're probably going to disagree with me here, but when it's so over sexualized that I can't emotionally connect with it, or feels really pandering, that's why I kind of just roll my eyes.
Certain, I believe there's some certain gender theories that would explain that behavior. Brianna, just thinking out loud, just thinking, just wondering, just thinking.
Whatever, dude. But I like a little sex appeal in my games. I enjoy that, especially if it's well done.
Well, thanks so much. Dwight Baldwin for 20 hours says, does Wu still support boycotting Hogwarts Legacy? If so, why?
No, I said on record that I supported this in the beginning because I obviously don't like J.K. Rowling. But the boycott failed. And if you're serious about political change, you owe yourself the intellectual honesty to ask if what you are doing is working. And it's very clear that going after J.K. Rowling, someone I vehemently disagree with, is not making things better.
I was just sitting on my leg for ages.
The way I feel right now is she can have her say on Twitter. I don't agree with it, and I'm going to focus my efforts on public policy.
Adam Unfriended for $100. Thank you so much. Says the Sweet Baby Inc. saga isn't the beginning of GamerGate 2.0, but rather a start of healing, and the rise of renaissance for gaming could be a slow or fast process depending on a few factors. Oku's consultation for race, sex, sexuality is basically illegal and is illegal based on the Civil Rights Act. I don't know if it's. I'd have to see this. What are the specific consultations that they were doing that you think were illegal? But maybe. So someone sent me a picture of some old tweets you had, Bree, that were like about your parents giving you money to start an animation business. Is that what the person you think was referring to?
That's probably what they were complaining with. But that was when I was 18. So that was a long
It says
time
when
ago.
you were 20 in the tweet.
Oh.
Was it a lot of money? How much money did they give you? Like $50? Because my parents would do so.
It was
They'd be
small
like,
over $1 million.
That was horrific. Whoopsie. Just didn't mention that the first time around. Whoopsie, got the age wrong.
I'd have to see this. What are the specific consultations that they were doing that you think were illegal? But maybe. So someone sent me a picture of some old tweets you had, Bree, that were like about your
Guys, it
parents
took
giving
us
you money
2.5
to
hours,
start
but we
an animation business. Is that
got
what the person
there.
you think was
Finally, a
That's probably
press.
what they were complaining with. But that was when I was 18. So
Yeah, that's
It
probably
says when
it.
you were 20 in the tweet.
But that was when I was. What was that?
And I was
18.
18. So that was.
So, not 7.
It
Okay.
It says when you were 20 in the tweet.
It says when you were
Oh.
20. Oh.
Was it?
It's like a mugshot, dude. It's like a mugshot. Dude, she looks like she's in a mugshot. She's been arrested.
A lot of money. How much money did they give you? Like $50? Because my
No,
parents would
it
do
was- it
stuff
was a
like that.
lot.
They'd be
Small
like,
over
here's
$1 million.
$50. Here's $50
was-
to start your animation
It
studio.
was.
I'd be like, Mom, I
Quarter of a
think-
million, I believe.
Yeah,
A few $1,000s. Is that what you
a
said?
few
$100,000.
$100,000.
Okay. $200,000. Wow. Okay.
Nice.
Not bad.
It was a good experience.
Impressive.
I learned a
This
lot
was
about
before. Is this
leadership.
before
Impressive.
you came out as trans?
It was a really long time ago.
Okay.
But, dude, Sitch. Never mind. I take it back. Sitch is the goat. Sitch is the goat. Sitch is the goat. Oh. Oh, brother. I can't believe he's doing this. Oh, brother. We've got to watch this whole thing through again.
That's probably what they were.
Old tweets you had. So someone sent me a picture of some old tweets you had, Bree, that were like about your parents giving you money to start an animation business. Is that what the person you think was referring to?
That's probably what they were complaining with. But that was when I was 18. So that was a long.
It says
time
when
ago.
you were 20 in the tweet.
Oh.
Yep.
Was
Yep.
it a lot of money? How much money did they give you? Like $50? Because my
No,
parents would
it
do
was- it
stuff
was a
like that.
lot.
They'd be
Small
like, here's
over $1 million.
$50. Here's $50 to start your
Awkward.
animation studio.
It was a few
I'd be like, Mom, I think
$100,000. Yeah,
a few $1,000s. Is that what you
a
said?
few
$100,000.
$100,000.
Okay. $200,000. Wow. Okay.
Nice.
Wow, not bad. Nice. Impressive.
It was a
Very
good
nice.
experience. I
And
learned a
this
lot
was
about
before. Is this
leadership.
before
A good
you came out
experience.
as trans?
$200,000.
It was a really long time.
Was it before you came out as trans, Brianna?
$1,000? Wow. Okay.
Nice.
It was a good experience. I learned
And
a
this
lot
was
about
before. Is this
leadership.
before you came out as trans?
It was a really long time ago.
It was a really
Okay.
long time ago.
Let's see.
Seething.
JMac for $10 says Woo plays
Raging.
Torrent confirms. No, listen. JMac likes Torrent. JMac is like a big.
How long
Torrent
does she
fan,
stay
so-
for?
I
Really?
don't know this game.
From World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft.
she
the,
stays?
the bull people in World of Warcraft.
The cow
Oh.
people.
Oh,
Oh.
Sitch is goated. Sitch is actually
There
goated
you
with the
go.
sauce.
Okay, let me see.
Fuck
if there's
Adam,
any
but Sitch is
other
goated.
questions here
Holy.
to read. The last statements. Thank you for
That's
those
energy.
statements.
This is aura.
So I know Artemis Fowl sent one, but I think he's being spicy with it
Getting snasty with it.
since he's a friend of mine.
Artemis Fowl. Oh, really? You know him?
Yes.
For $10 says Dev,
He's
Woo,
a web
Adam, and
chatter.
Sitch. I'm thinking of creating a religion that tells banks that it is against the religion to be charged interest on loans I take.
Yeah, are you now?
Oh, really? You know him?
Yes.
For $10 says Dev, Woo, Adam, and Sitch. I'm thinking of creating a religion that tells banks that it is against the religion to be charged interest on loans I take out, so we don't have to pay interest. Thoughts? Well, I mean, I think if you started that religion, the banks would not give you any money, right? Is it? What is that? How's that
True.
spicy?
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
How's that
Dev,
spicy?
that makes it
What?
spicy?
Yeah.
No, it was a different super chat.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Artemis is like, make sure this gets this. Make sure Brianna sees this, and I'm like, okay, sure. So
What is
for
it?
this is for $5 like an hour ago.
Yeah.
And he asked, are there any conspiracy theories or stories that involve Brianna Wu that she found surprising or wrong?
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, yeah, many. I think the biggest one, Dev, and I've really appreciated you pointing this out, is that I sent myself harassment. I logged into a different account
Oh yeah,
on
this
Steam.
is kind of misrepresented.
You know, with the is GSX founder Brianna Wu a terrible person, when I was in fact trying to like limit all the personal attacks and doxing and
I
mean
mean,
comments.
it is kind of misrepresented because it's not 100% that she was trying to falsify harassment based on the screenshot that's there. That's not proven by the screenshot. So yeah, kinda.
One thread, so I could have some part of our stream page that was talking about the new levels and the new combat engine, the new lighting, and the new character models, and all this stuff that my team had worked on for a year and a half. Yeah, that is a conspiracy theory about me that I wish would die.
I do
Are
remember a
you-
lot of them back in the day.
Yeah.
I remember like
Oh, yeah,
I
do
remember
you?
like people saying that you harassed yourself,
trans.
or
Oh.
people saying that like you had sock puppet accounts that you were using to harass yourself. I think the reason why is because somebody else actually got caught doing that, and they just
Mhm.
painted like all anti-Gamergate with that brush, you know?
Yeah,
Which is what happens, because I mean all of Pro Gamergate got painted with the harassment brush too. So this happened. This is how
Yeah.
it was.
I don't
I know that-
I hate to go back to the money thing, but look, you got $300,000 from your folks to start an animation studio, and you seem like that's a bad thing that your people are giving you a hard time for.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
Well, you kind of played it down
It
like
was
it wasn't a big
200,000.
deal. She said a few 100,000, which
Well, I'm looking at
I
the
would
tweet.
think
It says
is
200,000 on the tweet.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I just as a 20-year-old, like my parents didn't give me $200,000 when I turned 20 years old. That is like a lot of money.
It was a really
especially-
big gift. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if it was a long time ago when $200,000 was more money. So
Yeah.
it seemed like you
Thanks for that insightful comment,
You-
Adam.
kind of denied it at first.
This guy's a
that you
fucking
got money,
genius.
and then
Holy
I think
shit,
it's really
Mensa.
insulting
Hello.
that they helped me with my game studio when that's just not true. That was my husband and I. One of the ways we funded our game studio is, Frank had his grandmother died, and the deal that we came to is if we basically took apart her house and refurbished it, we could live there for a few years rent free, and save that money and spend it towards the staff, which was a hell of a lot of work. There were so many months I sat there and ate red beans and rice, just 3 meals a day for months on end to pay my team. So, my family, who
I
is
remember that tweet.
exceptionally cruel to me, giving them credit for anything that's happened, in my professional life in the last 10 years. It pisses me off. It's hitting on some trauma. I think y'all probably
Okay, look,
are a little
I get it.
oblivious
Look,
to.
I want
Wait, what was that?
Money and spend it towards his staff. Grandmother died, and I think it's really insulting that they helped me with my game studio when
you kind of denied it at first that you got money, and then
I think it's really insulting that they helped me with my game studio when that's just not true. That was my husband and I. One of the ways we funded our game studio is Frank had his grandmother died, and the deal that we came to is if we basically took apart her house and refurbished it, we could live there for a few years rent free, and save that money and spend it towards his staff.
Yeah, what was this house like, Brianna?
Which was a hell of a lot of work.
Sort of bungalow, I assume.
There were so many months I sat there and ate red beans and rice, just 3 meals a day for months on end to pay my team. So, my family, who
I
is
remember that tweet.
exceptionally cruel to me, giving them credit for anything that's happened, my
Bro,
professional
SFO
life
with the, I remember that tweet. What is this guy's problem?
last 10 years. It pisses me off. It's hitting on some trauma. I think y'all probably
okay, look,
are a little
I get it.
oblivious
Look,
to.
I wanna make it clear. So
I think y'all
What was that
probably
last bit?
okay, look,
are a little
I get it.
oblivious
Look,
to. It's hitting on some trauma.
It's
I
hitting on
think
some
y'all
trauma.
probably
okay, look,
are a little
I get it.
oblivious
Look,
to.
But what was that last bit? Does anyone know what she said there? Can anyone hear it?
Me off. It's hitting on some trauma.
It's
I
hitting on
think
some
y'all
trauma.
probably
okay, look,
are a little
I get it.
oblivious
Look,
to. It's hitting on some trauma. I think y'all probably
okay, look,
are a little
I get it.
oblivious
Look,
to.
Yeah, what's that last bit? It's hitting on some trauma, then something.
I wanna make it clear. So obviously the dig that people are making is they want to make it sound like, oh, it was just handed to you didn't do anything on your own, and the conflict over it is you worked very hard, very diligently, and the money was just not really that. I mean, it was
It
just
an
part of it.
earlier part of my life. I mean, my
Right.
parents were basically trying to bribe me to be a thing they could control, which is, it's a
Right.
whole, I don't even want to get into it on this.
Sure,
stream.
no. I want to make it clear because it just seemed like
Sure.
it didn't. I sense that you seemed to come clean so easily that it seemed there was a contradiction there, but I think we worked it out.
It's kind of a painful thing to talk about, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do remember the people talking about the red beans and rice thing. That was like a tweet that went viral. That was a meme for a little bit. Oh man, what else?
Sodos for
Red
$20
beans and
says,
rice.
Brianna,
Oh,
I
okay.
get why you don't like Toriyama's female characters, but have you ever read Dr. Slump? Ariel or Aurelie was actually super inspirational to Mario and video games. Also unfortunate you missed poor Connor's aneurysm last night.
Well, I had a meeting very late. Why are all these super chats for me? Talk to Dev. He's way
No
more
one cares.
interested.
No one's
Yeah.
asking Dev any questions.
Dev is way more interesting. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
fine. That's fine.
Here's one directed at Dev, though I kind of already addressed it. Sodoge, again, for $20 says, Dev is horrible at storytelling. No one knew the curator page existed until Sweet Baby Inc. employee tried to get the page taken down and get the guy's entire Steam account deleted. That's what started it, Streisand style. There you go.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I know people were talking about it before, but that was the flashpoint. Yeah.
Sodos for another $2 says, Dev is as bad as Putin at storytelling. There you go. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, he did go full Putin in the beginning there, didn't he?
Yes.
We'd have like 25 minutes if Dev could have just give us the cliff notes, right?
Yes.
It was fun though.
Sounds280 for $5 says something Dev said about Saint Row being made too safe goes into the problems with Spider-Man 2. Miles' dad is a chief, yet
Dude, right wingers get crazy donos. I'm telling you, these guys are funded out the fucking ass, bro. Big Papa Fascist is the same. That guy is loaded from donos. Watch his streams. It's crazy.
NYPD are erased in the sequel. Really? I never played it. What do they mean?
I am right wing, by the way. I'm just saying.
They don't have. He's not.
I am.
Oh wait, wasn't it like a
listen,
made
guys,
up police force?
I know. I've said I'm just like a normie lib so many times, but I'm actually hiding my power levels. So if you
Like he was still a police officer, right? It was just like a made up police force. That was the NYPD specifically, or something. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know, man. Sorry.
I never played Spider-Man 2.
Artemis is now dredging up the old lore.
Oh,
Is that the same?
no.
Is that the same house that Wu did a few of her interviews from? That brings up a lot of old memories that are fuzzy. And I know what he's getting at. He's being coy. So there was a conspiracy theory about you back during GamerGate, Brianna Wu, that you didn't actually leave your house when you said you did. And people were pulling out infographics of you doing various interviews in the mainstream media, and you were like in the same room.
Yeah.
In each one. So they're like, this is when she was supposed to have left. How is this possible? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I mean, so the truth is, Frank and I were nearly broke back in those days. So we did
nearly what? Nearly broke back in those days. What?
But the truth is, Frank and I were nearly broke back in those days.
Oh,
So
okay,
we did
sorry.
spend the first
Broke
few
back in
nights
those days.
in a hotel. And I showed those receipts, I believe, to Stephen Totillo, who wrote a piece about this for Kotaku, if you're looking for verification. And then we very generously had friends that let us come stay at their home, crash there at night. During the day, I felt that was safe. I was probably not going to be murdered at my house during the day. All my dev equipment was there, and I popped over there to
So wait, this is like a new story, isn't it? Because she was saying she had to flee to a hotel under advice of the police. That was the claim.
Night.
This is a new story.
During the day, I felt that was safe. I was probably not going to be murdered at my house during the day. All my dev equipment was there, and I popped over there to do interviews because someone's couch is not really a great place to do that. So that's the truth of what happened.
Yeah. Okay.
So basically, like, you came home to do the interview, then you went out again. Basically,
That's right.
You wanted to stay at home as
SFO is not going to buy this, surely.
Yeah. Because I mean, I did see you get doxxed. I have seen those tweets from back in the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I understand. Okay, yeah, because I remember he actually linked me one of those like schizo collages where it's like a bunch of pictures, like compare all these, and it's like, yeah, you on October 14th, 2014, and then you October 27th, 2014. These are both like you in your house, but you said you were gone during those times, right? But if that's the explanation.
People actually use those diagrams in my house to plan mass shootings of me and my family and my dogs, and would send that to me with things like, we're going to sneak in through here, we're going to execute.
Well, actually, it's really bad that you brought that up, because actually that's how Deagle Nation were going to get me, actually. That's how Deagle Nation were going to get me. They were going to parkour on my face, don't you know? Don't you know Deagle Nation will get parkour on my face? Oh, brother, it's time is like a flat circle. It's crazy. The same shit again and again, and now we've got new stories, new renditions of the same old lies. Crazy. This is epic.
You'd crash in this room, and if you're asleep here, we're going to shoot you with this pistol.
It really is GamerGate 2.
There was some really sick
We're back.
shit
We're so
back then. It really fucked me up, to be
Trump
honest.
is going to tweet it this time, guys.
Gross.
Yeah.
So I only have 5 minutes left, but I meant to ask this and we never got back to it. And someone asked too in the chat. One Eye Crow says, "Can you ask Brianna to explain what she means when she says woke?" Because I like,
that's like a 5-minute question.
Yeah,
I know. Well, that's kind of.
I can answer
like,
it in 20 seconds.
I was kind of curious as to, well, no, because I care what Bree says. I don't know. I don't care what you say, Dad, but about what woke means. But like, because like, what is like woke? What is liberal? What is progressive? What is leftist? Like, what are all these terms? Because they all mean different things to everyone. So
I've talked too much, Dad. You can get this one.
Well, no, but it's asking you.
We want to know what you think, though. Yeah.
I don't have the same
We don't care
problem.
what Dev thinks.
I don't have the same problem with woke that I think a lot of people do. I have a problem with this stuff being done badly, in a way that is pandering, in a way that, if you want to put it in game development terms, breaks immersion. The story I told earlier about Boyfriend Dungeon, that is wokeness in a way that really breaks my immersion and takes me out of the game because it feels so insincere. But like generally speaking, I do want more Black people in games. I want more queer people in games. I want it to just, I just want it to be done well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Is political correctness, would that be like a good analogy for it? Like when
It's
the
almost
game
like that's what
has
I've been
to
saying the whole
cater
time.
to a certain type of
That's
political
what Adam's thinking right now.
correctness, and
Yeah, when
it
it's done out of
suffers.
fear. Yeah.
Yeah, the quality suffers from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your motivations? Do you have a good story? Do you have a good character? Or are you doing it to go through a checklist and to make sure an audience isn't going to yell at you? Those are very
Right.
different outcomes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So
So
are we done?
Do you want to know my definition then?
No, come on, Dev. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Artemis right at the end. To be clear, I don't care about any of Brianna Wu's backstory. I have tons of people who want to ask her, but are too scared to ask her directly. I've actually heard that about you, yeah. I've heard from people that are like, I want to know what she thinks about, XYZ. Like, I want to know what Brianna Wu thinks about certain stories that don't seem to add up from the pro GamerGate side, but I'm too scared to ask her. I've heard that a few
Fairly
times.
friendly person. You can reach out to me, or Dev, you can be on stream sometime. We'll just talk through it. Happy to do it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you sound.
I think a lot of the fear comes from maybe just an impression of you from 10 years ago,
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, that actually
It's a
kind of
long
pressing
time
her at the
ago.
end here.
So
but this
okay,
is
let's
like,
wrap up.
she's like not having
what
it.
Dev? What is your
Dude.
definition of woke? You got 10 seconds.
Okay.
This is pretty crazy.
Wokeism is the ethics and processes of socialism expanded beyond class struggle to include race struggle, gender struggle, sexual struggle, and any other near infinite number of marginalized groups as defined by intersectionality.
That's pretty close to Sitch's
That's a great,
definition.
that's a great
Yeah.
definition. I love
Yep.
it.
They are
I
pushing
gave it
hard,
last
yeah.
year and it went viral, so I was like, this is pretty good. I think this is it. So I just keep it now.
There you go.
My definition is being awake to systemic injustice.
Yeah. I think that's true.
That's why.
I think
All
it
right,
needs a
this
little
was
bit
a
more.
great. This was a great stream.
It
Yeah.
was a great last 10
Yeah,
Made
minutes.
y'all a lot of money with these super chats.
You did. Well, you both did.
Oh man,
I
she's
know.
mad.
Aiden Paladin is probably
expecting
going to be
people to
talking
mount.
about.
Oh
From
my God.
you from the Wu.
Well, I saw-
Aiden Paladin's going to be talking about it later
I saw
today.
Spoon in the chat a bit.
Plutarch, you joke, right? Remember, it's very uncertain if Brianna was trans. That is a roleplay we was participating for this immersion. Okay. You joke like that, but unironically, DGG thinks she's cis. Unironically. If you go in DGG chat, you will get hounded by people saying she's cis. I'm pretty sure J-Stalker's argued in there before about it. He DM'd me or like messaged. He tagged me in Spicy once and was like, "Yo, dude, do you have the screenshots about that prove Brianna Wu's trans?" No, it's not joke. They're not joking. They actually think this. No, I'm not trolling. And they're not either. No, I'm telling you.
And he's like, that people watch you and people are telling me what's going on in here, right? And I'm like, yeah, okay, dude.
That I know. That was part of what makes it funny. Yeah, I'm aware. Yes.
All right.
I want to give a shout out to Shu, who I saw was in the chat today.
Go ahead.
One of the really nice things that I really appreciate with Shu is, and I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, is we reached out to each other in DMs a while back, and I was like, I'm so sorry for the way I treated you during GamerGate. And she's like,
Oh my
no, I got this and this wrong. And I'm like, can we just start over? And she's like, yes.
This is so
And
pathetic.
that
This is
was
so
really
wretched,
wonderful to
bro.
me. So,
Look at her trying to play the dude. This is crazy. Shu forgave me. Why can't you guys? Shu forgave me. Dude, I hate her. I actually feel sick. I hate her. This is disgusting. And she sitting there earlier being like, why do people think I'm inauthentic? Why do people think I don't believe the things I say? Dude. Yeah, apologize to Jace. You slandered a hero.
I know that the left has some real problems with her, but I think she's a very kind person.
So do you want to shout out anything else? Do you have any?
Where's that
socials
Deagle
or
Nation
anything
shit?
you-
Someone link me to Deagle Nation shit.
You can
now.
find me around. I want to say I really enjoyed your new video, Dev. I hope people
thank
will
you.
go out there and view that. Do you want to tell people about it super quickly?
What, the competency crisis?
Yeah.
Yeah. The TLDR of it basically is that there's been enough diversity hiring happening that complex systems are starting to have some serious problems because there's not enough merit left in the system to do the job it has to do. And I basically go into the right-wing view of why that is the case. The left-wing view is pretty simple. It blames late stage capitalism. The right wing view is, I think, more developed. So that's what I go into.
It's really well thought through. It goes through like the history of communism and the differences in Lenin and Stalin. It's a very typical dev video. So I
Thank you.
appreciated it.
All right, so we're gonna finish up the super chats in the next stream. We were gonna talk to What If Alt Hist for a bit. So
Sounds good.
we're gonna
Nice.
say goodbye. So
Thanks,
Yeah, let me
Alex.
put the. I'm gonna put what I hope is the link.
it's
for the
I pinned
video.
it. It's
Oh,
I
okay,
pinned it in the
nice.
chat. Yeah, guess what's next? It's at the top. It's pinned. You can click on that link and head on over there. But
Are you gonna raid
Oh.
yourself?
Can we
No.
even do that?
I'm sure you
I
can. Yeah, I think.
Wait,
can
you
do that.
can, can't you?
Yeah.
We should do that.
We actually
Yeah.
watched this whole fucking
Okay.
thing. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that insane that we did that? Isn't that just nuts? Thought we watched a whole Adam and Sitch. No, I think anyone's ever watched a